As Hashem, I'm trying to speak before each Kinnus a couple of minutes. We're not going to say all the Kinnus time doesn't allow for us to say everything together, but of course feel free to say those that you would like to say.
That's a video, right?
The goal of Hashem today, the goal today is to try to find the positive. People go through nisyonis, people go through difficulties, want to try to find the light within the darkness. For a person to find the light in his nisayon, in his test, it takes gevura, it takes ois, it takes power. You know, it's a interesting phenomenon, sitting in Tisha B'Av on the floor, and at the same time, there's a certain ratzon and there's a desire to come close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Eibush is sitting with us. We said over on Shabbos that tzaddikim say that these times are the biggest eis ratzon, the time of Tisha B'Av. One can ask for whatever he needs, the time of Tisha B'Av, which is interesting. Here we are, we're on the floor, but at the same time, the Rebbeinu Shalom is right next to us. Hashem is with us. And we know that we need to recognize that gevura through the nisyonis, through the taivas, through the difficulties. So at the same time that one mourns his losses, we also know at the same time that we also celebrate what we're great at. Fascinating that at the time, Rabbi Lansky mentioned last night that at the time of the Korban, the Kruvim were facing each other. During Ateres, the Kruvim, on top of the Arna Kodesh, which is the Kodesh Kodashim, during Ateres, they're facing away. When it was Ratzon by Hashem, when it was desire, was goodness by Hashem, the Kruvim were facing each other. The Shas, the Korban, at the time of the Korban, the Kruvim were facing each other. Samar brings down that you see that this Ratzon that Kadosh Baruch Hu had, the desire to be close, was so strong even on Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av more. He destroyed the Beis HaMikdash because of the Ateres, because of the Korban, because of the difficulties. We go through loss, we go through nisyonis, we go through sadness, and it's tough. Sometimes it rips us apart. But you should just know at those moments, Hashem, the Kruvim are facing each other. Kadosh Baruch Hu is there with us. So we're going to say the Kinnus, and then before each Kinnus, those that we're going to say, we'll speak for a moment or two. Shama Saramanu, Shamana Oivis, Sakaisa Mishkan, Sakaisa. Zion starts with Eicha, Atzta Vapecha. The first four prakim of Eicha were written in the order of the Aleph-Bet. It's the first four prakim, which is interesting. I think the third or fourth parak is triple the Aleph-Bet. But This kin and the next kin are also written in the Seder of the Aleph-Bet, from Aleph through Taf. So we know that Histaka Barais Hashem looked in the Torah, Uvara Alma. The Zohar says Hashem looked in the Torah and He created the world. That means that the oasis of the Aleph-Bet were really the creation of the world. When the letters, based on the piece from Reb Nachman, when the letters of the Aleph-Bet are in proper order, deciphered properly, that's mitzvahs. It's based on Sfam, Chazal. He just puts it onto a level that we can understand that the oasis of the Aleph-Bet, that's the mitzvahs. The Taryag mitzvahs is all the letters of the Aleph-Bet put in the proper order. So Reb Nachman says an amazing piece. He says, when you say Vafilu B'Hastar, he says Vafilu B'Hastar Shabasei Hastar, even in the hidden, amongst the hidden, Gam Shom Nimtza Hashem Yisbarach. We'll talk a little bit later the meaning of tzaras, but he talks in the concept of mitzvahs. That even if in the Hastar, which means even if you take the letters of the Aleph-Bet and you put them the wrong way, which means Chas v'Shalom, a person does Naver. Naver means that you mixed up the way the letters of the Aleph-Bet should be. You should just know Gam Sham Nimtza Hashem Yisbarach, Kadosh Baruch Hu is found within there, because all you need to do on a simple level is unscramble. Put the oasis of the Aleph-Bet in the proper way, and then you have mitzvahs. So tzaras sometimes come from when a person takes the Aleph-Bet, takes HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his views, and he misunderstands them. He puts his views into the Torah instead of following different chachamim, instead of following what we're supposed to understand. On that level, we put our views into it, and sometimes we misunderstand and misinterpret. You should just know, Gam Sham Nimtza Hashem Yisbarach, Hashem is hidden behind all those averos, all those tzaras. All you need to do is find the Rebbeinu Shalom. Eicha Atzta Barkach Al Avid Gal Nefel is Chatim Eskim Sam Shabbat Nefel. Everything is called Lina Heilana. The God of our Safal Goyis Gadgin. There's a hard Ik ga het weer naar laten ik ga doen. We beginnen met vader bij dat zo is maar van zo. Oké, Ordem nog eens maar ja, vind je zo shit dat we dat even gewoon dat we gaan zeggen van alles wie aan het Shelly Matul, in August, Eight of the Alto, the cross we can open the noise, we come to some chariots, eight shaft. Handel is voor de meeste kamai, maar is voor de kamai. Zo heb je iets, ik is al je zelfs beschrijven voor dat die gaat aan de alcohol zo mooi. What the ches? It's a power that in the middle of destruction, in the middle of the whole korban, we're discussing that it has the oasis of the Aleph-Bet. Continuing on the oasis of the Aleph-Bet, but if you notice in Perek, in the middle of the Perek, it says a few times the ois ches and tes. We'll discuss in a moment. It says 3 times, and those 2 letters, ches and tes, discuss hope. It's the middle of destruction, the middle of think about the ultimate destruction of Klal Yisrael, and there was a chaz de Hashem kilei samnu. Chaz de Hashem kilei samnu kilei rachama. The chesed of Hashem kilei samnu. Hashem's chesed doesn't end. Here's destruction, this killing, and Hashem says, the Yirmiyah says, chaz de Hashem kilei samnu. The chesed of Hashem it doesn't end. The kindness of Hashem. That pasuk alone teaches us that a person has to always find the silver lining even in the biggest sorrow. Avi Moriz Zatzal mentioned the story a few years ago, but it's a story that's etched into my memory. When he was very, very sick at the end of his life, so the doctor said they have to take him in for a surgery. I'll take him in for a procedure that hopefully will alleviate his pain, maybe will help him get better. And he was very, very sick, very weak, and they brought him into the operating room. They strapped him onto an operating table. Nobody should ever have to know from such things. And the room is chilly, the table is metal, it's hard to keep away the germs. And they put him down, and then the doctors walked out to convene as to whether or not they should do the surgery. And the doctors are out for a half hour, 45 minutes. And my sister should be standing outside waiting, assuming that the surgery was taking place. And after 45 minutes to an hour, they opened the doors, and he was there. They didn't do the surgery. They had decided not to, but he was there the whole time by himself. There was no nurses, there was no doctors. They were having a meeting in the side room. So my sister walked in, she ran over to him, she said, "Now, what happened? You hear yourself the whole time?" He said, "Yeah." He says, 45 minutes strapped onto the table, what were you doing? What were you doing the whole time? He said, "I was singing Chaz Hashem Kilachon Rachman." Imagine to be able to do that, to be able to sing Chaz Hashem. That's what we're the message of Tisha B'Av is sing Chaz Hashem. Is sitting on the floor, find the Chaz Hashem in your Yinasayim. Try to reframe, try to look around, and even though it looks difficult and it feels like it's painful, the Navi is telling us Chaz Hashem. There's still kindness. There's always Chesed Hashem, even in the most difficult situations. So is talking about somebody was out to put in a God give you allowed to be live in English. His test is interesting. His test it goes through. If you notice, if you have the some of the newer Kinnus, at the end of each stanza, it's quoting the psukim at the beginning of Parshas B'chukoisai. At the beginning of Parshas B'chukoisai, if you go in Hashem's ways, I'll give you rain, etc., etc. So what's interesting here is that B'chukoisai, it's choices. So the Shimon is giving choices. If you go my ways, I'll give you everything good. And if Chas V'Shalom you don't, I'll give you everything bad, right? And it's interesting. So Malvis V'Sorah, see I put in front of you today Chaim and Toiv, Malvis and Ra. Chaim and good, life and good, and Malvis death and bad. V'chata V'chaim, and there's choices that people have. And we know that the Chaim HaMalvis, life and death is biyad halashon, is in the power of the speech. these are one of the things that we speak about many times here in the yeshiva. Speak about this concept of speech, of talking. Right? We've said over the line many times that grown-up people don't talk. We don't talk. What's the shot? We don't talk because when a person, especially today in the power of technology, we're surrounded by technology. We have call-in numbers. We have live hookup videos. We have there's so much technology for the good, and there's always, as Zelomah said, there's so much that can be used for the bad. I'm not talking about in Shmir Sinayim right now. I'm talking about really in the concept of the speech, of dangerous speech. We could in one text message, in one WhatsApp, in one status, we could ruin someone's life. We could ruin their business. We could ruin their shidduchim. We can mamish, and again, it's important to know because there are many people that are not just sitting here that are listening to today that any words that sound like words of Muslim, I'm speaking only to myself. I'm not speaking to anyone, chas v'shalom. I'm speaking all to myself to be mechazik myself. I have a big minute here in the yeshiva that always the weakest person speaks. So that's the avodah. So of course I'm only being mechazik myself. This shouldn't mean chas v'shalom I'm facing this to anyone. But the avodah of speech, when we speak about speech, talk is something that we really could ruin someone's life. It's like, we discussed this once by Shal Shud, it's a tremendous chizk from someone. I still think about it very often, and the person should be the bench, because we're once talking about this thing about businesses. A lot of times a restaurant opens up, and someone posts on the group, how's the restaurant? And the other guy walked in the first night, the service was slow, or the food came out not perfect. And he's like, I was there, not so bad. Boom. 50 people, his friends, just heard it, and they spread it to 10. He just ruined the guy's business. Because he couldn't cut the guy slack on his first night, right? You see someone at a very stressful time, and he wasn't behaving perfect. Someone says, oh, do you know this guy for shidduchim? Say, yeah. And you say, like, I saw him. You saw him at his worst time in his life. You saw him at the terrible time. Maybe the guy was going through financial hardship. He had difficulties, machlus. You don't know what's happening. And we see the person one time, and Rahman Sam, we could ruin a person's shidduch, a person's life. Hashkachas. How's the hashkacha here? Oh, not sure. I didn't say bad. I said I'm not sure. Now everybody has to ask their rav in everything, in shidduchim, in parnasa. You have to ask your rabbi what you're supposed to say. But we have to be so careful. Be so careful with the power of speech. Be so careful. So we once spoke about this, and someone came over to me a day or two later, and he said to me, "You should just know that a new store opened in town." And after you said this, someone said on this group that I'm on, he said, how's this new store? And I right away responded, please don't respond on the group. Something to that. He said, please don't mention anything in the group. You could ruin the guy's business. If you want to talk about it, someone has a question, ask somebody private. Such chizuk, because here, in 1 second, the guy could have said, oh, I walked in, service is bad. Boom, everybody loses it. It's choices. And what means we have the choice. We have the choice to keep our mouth quiet. You could save people's lives. And on the opposite as well. If we walk up to someone with a smile, someone looks down, you go up to the person and say, wow, have an amazing day. You look great today. Give him chizuk. Give her a chizuk. In 1 second, you can make a person stay better. In 1 second, you can make a person stay better. Think in your mind to the chizuk that you've gotten over. And when someone changed your day by just saying, wow, you look great today. Keep smiling. By the way, I heard a good thing about you. In 1 minute, you can change it. That's the choices of Koisek Telechel. Going to skip Kina Yud. We're going to go to Kina Yud Aleph. Kina Yud Aleph is the most important Kina that we say on Tisha B'Av, aside from Eicha. So if you don't have a chance to say some of the others, but Kina Yud Aleph is one of the most, is the most, it's brought down as the most. So I'm going to give you a little bit, I'm just going to speak out the story that it says here, and it says here in the Kina. Yeshiva HaMelech, let's discuss Yeshiva HaMelech, who's the grandson of Menashe. Yeshiva caused the greatest Tshuva movement in the history of Klal Yisrael. Menashe, who was his grandfather, put Avodah Zarah in all of Eretz Yisrael, and it's known that Menashe, at the end of his life, did Tshuva. The Seif Yomov, he was close to the Tshuva, Menashe, but at the beginning he put, and there were people who mamish were over Avodah Zarah. Just to help you understand Avodah Zarah, we really don't have a relationship and understanding of Avodah Zarah. It's not a taiva house. The Gemara says when they were mispal that the Yitzhar of Avodah Zarah should go away, it says that the Tana who came after that Kufa went to a person who was alive at the time, and he says, "What's the big deal? Avodah Zarah? Who cares about Avodah Zarah? There's no time for it. It's a big deal. You people were over Avodah Zarah." He said, "If you would have been alive at the time, of Avodah Zarah, you would have tripped over your shirt running to serve Avodah Zarah. You would have run so fast, you would have tripped over your shirt to be over Avodah Zarah. That's how strong the taiva was." So he put Avodah Zarah all over Menashe. At the end of his life, he was close to Tshuva, and it says Hashem was makabel the Tshuva, whole shmuz in itself. But what's interesting here is that Yeshiva Melech started ruling. So he became king at 8, and for 31 years. He ruled for 31 years. And the first 18 years of his kingdom, there was no sacred Torah scene. That's how badly there was Avodah Zarah. That's how much Avodah Zarah was entrenched, that there wasn't even a Sefer Torah for the first 18 years. In fact, Chalkiyahu, who was the Kohen Gadol at the time, found the Sefer Torah, and he opened it. And he opened the Sefer Torah to the words of Arur Asher Lo Yakum Es Divrei Torah says. Arur is not blessed, the opposite of blessed, for those that are not Makayim the Torah. So Yeshua says, Aleinu Lo Hakum. He got so scared, he says, okay, we have to do it. So he made everybody be chayes b'tshuva, and not everyone was chayes b'tshuva. There were a few holdouts of those people that still held on to Avodah Zarah. They used to put an Avodah Zarah on the back of the doors. They had swinging doors that broke in half. The way I think of it is like in the catering halls, you have those two doors swinging back and forth. So in the back of the door, they had a full Avodah Zarah. And when the inspectors from the king came to check at the house if there was Avodah Zarah, they would open the doors. Avodah Zarah would split in half. the state in the Medrash, and then they wouldn't find Avodah Zarah. So the inspectors came back to the king, said, no Avodah Zarah. There's no Avodah Zarah. Sure. Paranachei was an army, marching army, wanted to come through Eretz Yisrael at the time to go attack a different country. And they asked Rishus from Yeshua, could we go through your country? He said, no, it's a pasuk. No sword will pass through my land. No sword will pass through my land, even a peaceful sword. He says, you can't come through. The Navi came to him. The Navi Yirmiyahu said, there's still some people there. There's still some people that have Avodah Zarah. Be careful. Don't let them through. Let them through, because if you don't, it's going to be tzaras. He didn't listen. And he didn't let them through. They started a war with Klal Yisrael, and they killed him. They killed the king. And at the time, this is the kina that Yeshua says over here. This is the most important kina besides Feicha. Tzadiku Hashem ki piyu marisi piyu. Hashem is a tzadik ki marisi piyu. They speared him many times, about to die. They shot spears into him, and he was going to die, the king. And as it says in the Shami, it's a tzadiku Hashem ki piyu marisi. Hashem is a tzaddik ki piyu marisi. The message is so great, the message is so grand, but there's one concept of a message, one small message is that Al Tamin Ba'atzim Chad Yom Yisrael. We should never believe in ourselves that we're perfect at Yom Yisrael. And we know that every person, until the day he dies, Al Tamin Ba'atzim Chad. There's still the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is still there, it's still alive, and a person has to know that every ounce of tshuva, every thought, every hair of tshuva is so special by the Rabbi Shalom. And Yafa Sha'achas Tshuva, 1 second of tshuva is so great. Let's say this Kinnus together. You can hear me all yosh yo. Which one the shone the dress below the day come. This will she go before. These all come to the Dova quick at the Sana Dosh come on at the story. Small Oshim min Avavoi, Doshon Yadim Zacham Moro, Even the Salah Hidayah Hila Moin and Nakas of the Rag about the Sabbath and Gosh Babra and the Shama of Mazer and Shama Father students, this is the God of the Those are more than my thoughts, it's a social speech. I'm going to go for a website, what's up with you? This is a new beginning, Sam, Shino, women, Sam, Dam, Kisam, and Okalaki, all the music, we know such Kina Yud Beis, only Ashataf Limbracious, only is my tent. You notice this Kina, each stanza starts with only my tent. Only my tent means that it's a makom of Shechina, where the Rabbi Shalom is there. Rabbi Socha Shlomo Tichtal was a person who lived in the war, in the Second World War. So he wrote a postcard to his children. The postcard was dated April 22nd, 1942. And he wrote in the postcard as follows: Dear children, the enemy is around us and has destroyed the cities that are surrounding us. Nitra, etc., and all the cities that were surrounding where he was. He writes, I know we're next in line, but we are going with Simcha. We're going with full faith. We're accepting Gzeros HaBoirei. We are not worried. And the postcard finishes off, Ki HaShechina HaKadosh Itanu, because we know that the Shechina HaKadosh is with us. And his message was, Rabbi said, we know that there's difficulties ahead, and we know that there's nisyonis, but we're not afraid. Ki HaShechina Itanu. That's Oli. Oli is my tent, which means that's the Rebbeinu Shalom's place. Hashem's place is his tent. The world is the dwelling place of temporary. Tent is temporary. We live in Hashem's tent, and there's nisyonis, but we're not worried. Ki HaShechina Itanu. Only Hashatafta liberations. The keys come to the tzar for the mall, and that's up shit that got shit. Yes, it's great idea. That's what got about Maliboy, and then shipping Mamto, this on earth. The tzar of this Tzibor, by the go. Marta, Mali did the boy, and shipping to Dash. Olish bugs the mano, the Chivana body, the voice of Goy on the Shaniso, the oil, the association. The one that's a most honored, oh, she got the ball before the ship. Lama, that's the Opiani, oh, I'm just calling up with this. Uzi Bishul Greg Baboy, Bata, Banate, Yud Gimel, Akoi. Akoi means where is so. Where is so is, we know that's from Yitzchok and Yaakov, Koi Yisarech, and even Anafat Koi, Koi Soima. Koi is also Hashkacha Pratis. Koi is the concept of Hashkacha Pratis. We say where is, if a person needs to find the Hashkacha Pratis in life, where everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashkiach on every single thing in life. It's a big avodah. Recognizing Hashkacha Pratis is a huge avodah. Some Sefer says one should look back, some Sefer amazing. A person should look back to all the instances of his life and that seemed bad and really turned out good. Look at all the instances of life that seemed bad and that turned out good. Imagine, that means find Hashkacha Pratis. Somebody used to be a Rebbe here. He always told me they used to daven to Rebbeinu Shalom that he should be zeicha to see the Hashkacha Pratis. Because sometimes things that seem really bad, you go back and you look at them, wow, they were good. A famous non-Jewish article I once read is that the best thing that ever happened to me was that I was fired. A guy wrote a whole piece. The best thing, and he realized that had he not been fired, he would have been. And we said over many stories of Shkacha Pratis with the shamas in the shul. Many, many different things in life is that a person realizes that what seemed to be terrible at the time really was the biggest Shkacha Pratis. And that's really what we're saying here in Yud Gimel, Eikai, where's the Hashkacha Pratis? Eikai Emekaris, Lamavetza, who has been absorbed by Yelanetzah, Mainat, Lanot, Smuretza. There was an outlet, and Eikai Gosh, Kisela, and Atzaisa. Yahakai, meet the Bendisa, Mainat, the Bendisa. Eshab Kobatso, Imersapaikai, Abdokaz, the Swiss Kikayu. Hey, koi de shalom na medel be shalom shalom na medel na tishu ben. Ebe da shalom de na medel me da koi dis da shoy is dis God na lem is samo is says koi. Kata sabne amlo yimadu be koi sia Yeshiva Ateres. The boy is in Atos, but the boy is Zachet Kadumo is. Egoet Loko, Bomber, the Shaka Mishuba, the Dabel, the Shaka Minatas, or the Shaka Shaka. You can give us the beams from Melko, gives us some time with somebody else. We're going to skip the next two Kinnus. We'll skip Yudal and Tesvav, go to Tesayin. This is the story of Titus. Famous story of Titus. The Gemara Gitna Daf involved. A famous story which we'll say over. Titus went to destroy. He was a general. He went to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. So I'm going to read you from the Gemara. The Gemara says, is at Titus Arasha. The story happened with Titus Arasha. Shakir begidav kapi mala. Ma'asa tofa zoyne biyodim nefes b'shkotcha kadosha. The eternal aver in the kadosha when I say the Torah. V'noto sayef, and he took a sword. And he took the sword and begidra saproithas. He sliced open the proithas. And v'yidam avatzit v'yoytza, blood was coming out of the proithas. And he thought to himself, wow, Kaviyach Hashem, I killed God. That's what he thought to himself. Meaning, that the Baruch Hu made that nest, that blood should come out to make this guy think like that. He took the sword, he cut the proithas, v'yidam avatzit v'yoytza. What did he do? He takes the proithas from the Beis Hamikdash, and he was also kamin garbus, and he made it almost like a basket, and he filled it with the kalim of the Beis Hamikdash, and he put it on his boat. He went to bring praise to his city. Oh, I conquered the Jewish God. And he's going to praise himself. He gets onto the boat, and Amadov Nichshav B'Yom L'Toivik, and a big wave came, and it was going to make it. It was shaking the boat. So he looks up and he says, "Kamedumali." This chutzpah, he had the chutzpah and the degradation with the way he spoke to Rebbe Shem. He says, "Kamedumali, Shalei Shalei." This God ain't koyach melabamayim. This God, their only koyach is with water. Noach, Yisro, all these people they got wiped out with water. Oh, you don't guess. So Basko came out from Shemaim and said, "Rasha ben Rasha, ben Benoi Shalei Savarash." Sinner, horrible, terrible person, son of a Rasha, grandson of Esav Rasha. But very akala yeshli b'olam. You have this small, teeny, little creation in my world. The mafakana islay, the machal, it goes in. Mafakana leslie, it only goes in, it doesn't go out. It eats, but it can't take anything out of its body. The yitosh shema, and it's called the yitosh. Been saying all this Gemara already since we started doing this already back in almost 15, 16 years ago. And we speak about this concept of a yitosh. Yitosh is a little gnat. Translation of yitosh is a gnat, this little gnat. Should come to dry land. The heavenly voice says, you know what? You don't want to fight with water? Come to the dry land, make war with this gnat. He comes to dry land, and it flew up his nose. It pecked at his brain for 7 years. I'm skipping different parts of the Gemara, and it says that when he died, they opened his head. When he died, when Titus died, they opened his head. He had a headache for 7 years. It was this gnat gnawing away at his head for 7 years. And it says when he died, they opened his head. It was Kegoizo ben Shana Mishko Shnei Litron. It was this huge bird. It developed into a huge bird. And Abaya says that its mouth was nachoshes, its claws were of basil, were of copper. That's what was going on. A gnat, a yitosh, represents, we know Chazal referred to the Yetzer Hara as a zvuv. It's a fly. A fly, what's the fly? The fly is something that buzzes in your face. You ever have an annoying fly, and you're trying to do something, it's buzzing in your face, you keep swatting, you don't kill it, it's not going to sting you, you're not afraid of it, it's just annoying. It's a fly. Zzz. Right? You're trying to sleep at night, and there's big flies in your room. Where's the fly? And it's under the window shade, it's behind the door, and it's always right out of your reach. It's on the light, and you're quiet, you take your slip, you try to get it. It's the annoying thing. It takes away from your purpose. It takes away from your big goal. You're trying to do something, trying to get something accomplished, and this little, teeny little thing comes into your face, and it's there. That's the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara doesn't give you something big back. You want to accomplish something big in life. You want to do something. The Yetzer Hara comes and it just buzzes in your face. Oh, this guy made me nervous. This person said something bad about me. Okay, I'm always benched the whole day. Someone said something bad to me, the whole day I'm always benched. Right? My spouse, my child, something's not going perfect. My whole day is ruined. It's this full. It's the yitosh. It's the Yetzer Hara. It's the gnat. It's taking away from what our purpose is. Our purpose is much bigger and greater. It's 1,000 times greater than the yitosh. It's 1,000 times greater than this book. Our job, teachers was so hyper-focused. The message that the Rebbeinu Shalom was sending could be, the instead is, you think you got it. You think, oh, I got it. I destroyed it. I'm the one. I'm the mighty one. I'm Titus. We say over every year, Chaim Shmulevitz is a great story, and I have to say it again. Every year we say it. He once went to the arch of Titus. Titus's arch, he goes and he comes, and if anybody was in Rome, and you see this big arch, and there's a mighty warrior engraved into the arch of Titus on his horse, with his holding his sword. And it says in Rome, it says, overcame, we won the Jews. So Chaim Shmulevitz stands in front of the arch and he says, Titus, ich bin da, wo bist du? Titus, we're here. Where are you? Where are you? The great mighty Titus, the great mighty warrior. You thought you had it. We're here. Klal Yisrael Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaka. Klal Yisrael's eternity is here forever. We're here forever. We're here forever. Focus on the forever. Focus on the greatness. Focus on what the bigger picture is of life. Focus on the tachlis. Focus on why you're here. Don't let that little distraction. Don't let this wolf take you away. And everything in life, Chazal is over. Thank you so much. There's a certain yid here that keeps being machazik since we spoke about it. Again and again. Everything in life. Say, is this wolf? Is this wolf or is this real? This is wolf. This is, let's say together, this kin about Titus. Zofash Tezai. Zofash also Tzovif. Shomchav about the five. Send you his team left my body, we get the presence, Malish Nebon. The same Gial, the Mogamat, and me mother Kamar, Dom David. In a dog, this is the whiskey, it's up in the home. It's a vice from the dog, it's a whiskey from the dog. Then we'll go over the time for life, going. So it's this by the man, Shaman Higo, this is the last age of a message. Motion or shift the one of the nations. Reno, shows the much shows. Nothing goes to the ball, if you can't buy it, not a fight, some proposal. Especially the Doshem, Tamnos, so there's a position, remember, thinking, looking at the Tony was thinking, Shabbos, so in there, we were no problem in the pizza, like Luzon. Pesach, come on, the greatest is boy, don't have to and the top door, it's just a fun boy, not the machine boy, go home, you shall not rest. No break to come this, the service bar now should also is what we shall go. Much as it was with restoration, this world with in Yud Zayin, the Chal Noshim Premar, the Fuchmai Lali. Yud Zayin is a difficult one to read about the tzaras of the Churban when women were so starved that they would eat their own offspring, that even Nashim Rahmanis, it's even difficult to read the words and to fathom. It's difficult to fathom the pain and the suffering that Klal Yisrael went through at the time. If you notice, each stanza starts with Aleph Mem Saf. Aleph Mem Saf, MS. Pal, starts with MS. Here's one of the most difficult kinnah to read. Talks about barbaric acts by the most people, by the most pity, which means that they lost their minds. They lost their minds, and that's how much suffering was going on. And each stanza starts with MS. The signet, the sign of Hashem is Emes. We know that because Aleph-Bet, we discussed Aleph-Bet. First letter is Aleph, last one is Tav, the middle is Mem. It's the connection of the whole Aleph-Bet, Emes. The signet, the sign of the Baruch Hu is Emes, which means Emes means Erlich, really. In our, what we need to understand our Emes, to be truthful means we have to be Erlich. So there's 2 points I want to just discuss for a moment. One is the Emes, the Erlich kind of ourselves, being truthful ourselves. To ourselves, and emes means that we're truthful to ourselves when no one's around. That's a big nisayon today, to be truthful to ourselves and do cheshbon hanefesh, and also to recognize hashkafa pratis. Part of being emes is recognizing hashkafa pratis. We had a beautiful story recently when we were with the Chabur in Eretz Yisrael, and we had to come to Eretz Yisrael. We stopped on the way in Poland. We'll discuss a little bit later, and we come to Eretz Yisrael, and everybody was very, very tired, and one of our first stops after we dropped our stuff off is we went to the Kaisel, of course, the Kaisel down in Mincha. And we leave the Kaisel, and we're at the Kaisel Plaza, and the bus driver got stuck in traffic, and they called us, and he said he's going to be a half hour late. And there we are, everybody's a little tired, and the nerves are frayed at the edges. We're still very nice, but they were like, okay, so they said, where's the Hashkafa Pratis? We're discussing so much Hashkafa Pratis. What's Hashkafa Pratis? We daven Mincha. We're starved, we're tired. Where's the Hashkafa Pratis? So I said, not always in life, it's Chazal, not always in life you zechet to say Hashkafa Pratis. But I said, this Rebbe that used to say, daven for Hashkafa Pratis, daven you should see it. The 2 people that asked that daven David, you should be zechet to see Hashkafa Pratis. I have no idea why this guy's late, why we're stuck here. Sure, we wait a few more minutes, we start walking up the steps of the Kaisel, and we go through the old city, and this person needed a drink, his iced coffee to tie his shoes. And we got late a minute here, 2 minutes there, 30 seconds here, 3 minutes there. Going with the group, it takes time to get through. And as we're walking out of the parking lot and we're walking up the steps, some person comes over to me, gives me a big hug. And this person happens to be a neighbor of mine. In Brooklyn. He's Rosh Hashanah. He eats by us often. He eats by us different Yom Tovim often. And he gives me a big hug. He says, Rabbi Groner, now I understand why I'm running late to Mincha. So this guy said to us in front of the whole group, he says, now I understand why I'm running late to Mincha. He answered Hashkafa Pratis. He answered why we were late. He answered because we needed to see each other. The Eibishter was Mazman that we needed to see. So he said the answer to these 2 people that were mispalal for their reason to see Hashkafa Pratis. To see it. Why did I say this story? Because every single thing in life is Hashkafa Pratis. If it's good, if it's bad, if you see it, if you don't see it, everything is Hashkafa. I said this story over when I spoke a few weeks ago. Reb Shimon was sitting in the sukkah, and he was eating. It was after a rainstorm, and the schach was wet, and a big drop of rain falls down next to his soup. His Talmud says, Rebbe, Hashkafa Pratis. Fall next to the soup. He says, if it fell in the soup, it's also Hashkafa Pratis. Hashkafa Pratis is everything. Everything, good, bad, it's all Hashkafa Pratis. It's all the Rebbeinu. The Rebbeinu is running every single thing in life. We're saying one of the most difficult kinnah to read now. It starts with MS. It's all true. It's all the Rebbeinu Hashkafa Pratis. It's Aleph Mem Saf. It's all the Rebbeinu, and that's the message. That's how you find the light in the darkness. It's that even when it's so dark, it's all MS. It's all the Rebbeinu. Gahne was so schon, die kann das ist doch mal. Hilft wirklich schon nie über 25 Mal leben, da müssen wir so weil wir was. Also nein, das doch mal. Dann ist unser so neben nei, haben wir doch mal. Hade beres hat always upon the mercy of the aber beres taking was talk So now this item of life came to cook my and she got a habit to which I am about honest money the best begin أهي نتنا الخام من بدوخ من أجل الفخ من الليل نتنا ما يفهم ما سرعة خدمة في مدري سخم سخم شمال ما فكان براق ما الليل سخن شبك أيسم نفاش كقيت بسخم الليل رافنا دفنوكي شمال ما فكان بسخم الليل رافنا نفاش كامرة بسخم الليل تشكاه ما يجي لا تسخم الليل تكان شلش بيسخم الليل General Kois and August was Yakov to Family, Scott Mrs. I'm no is the image of Family, love no, this was a moment to come to the Family of Goddess on the right. Oi, Anos Mamish Mimi Agmik, Doshatani came in all day, low boy Mashmi. Good chess, mata hate veit v'imoch. I shall do good with you. That's Amunah. Amunah is the day which says, even after all these things, Hashem says, I'll do good with you. Hate v'imoch. Hashem is with us. A feel about star, Shabbat Star we spoke earlier, that's in the Ateres. And also in the Nisyonis, the Tzar, so the Baruch is with us. A feel about star, Shabbat Star. There's a beautiful story about a rich man who was very, very wealthy. He wanted to give away half his wealth. It happened in Europe, and he's traveling around. He wants to give away half his wealth, and he comes to a town, and what should I do? What should I give? I want to give away half my wealth. He's looking for a poor person. What's a poor person? And he finds this person in town. He's a poor guy, and he goes over to him. He says, "Oh, do you have a house now? Do you have food to eat now? Do you have a place to sleep now?" He says, I'm a wealthy guy. I want to give you half my wealth. The guy said to him, you know what? I'm fine. I'm good. Take half your wealth. Go to the cemetery. Bury it here. Who knows? One day, maybe somebody will need it. Go bury it in the cemetery. The guy goes and he buries it. He says, nobody wants to take my wealth. He goes and buries it. A few years later, the tides change, and this guy becomes very poor himself. He loses all his money, becomes very poor. He's wandering from town to town to town, begging money. And he comes back to that town. And he's like, oh, I remember. I thought I buried my money here. So he runs to the basic forest and he starts digging it up. The police come and you see this guy, he's digging up his money. They arrest him. They're a poor guy, a homeless guy, digging up graves, probably looking for dead people's jewelry. And they say they arrest him, throw him in jail. He's like, no, I promise you, I'm digging up. I think the guy lost his mind to bring him to the judge, who was the mayor of these small towns, the judge, the mayor, the police officer, sees every one thing. And they bring him in front of him. And the mayor is sitting there. The mayor says to him, what are you doing? And he says, I was digging up my money. He says, really? He says, it was yours? He says, yeah. He says, what happened? Tell me the story. He tells me the story. The mayor says, do you recognize me? He says, no. He says, I was the poor guy that wanted to give you money to. My time changed, and I became wealthy, and now I'm the mayor of the town. He says, the story is true, you can give it. The name is that it's all a munah. We think, this happened, that happened, I lost this, and I got this. It's all amunah. It's all hashkacha pratis. It's all finding, it's all finding it. It's all just recognizing the eminence. It's recognizing that it's all there. It's recognizing. It's murder. Let's start with Atamat Ediveti, Mathina Nivabak Lamanabli Altuish, Rabbi and some Alvati, the altar of the bone, and the Woman that done that's all the time by here. Where is the fire? After the watch myself, it's the celebration the way that just is nothing that was going to let me go in. Father, tell me go call Father, tell me to the people. He goes on his fast. Good test, Pasha Stockholm. One of the greatest deciders to know is Shema. We spoke earlier a little bit on Shmir Salashan. I'll speak it just to drop more. Shema Pivel Shema. Shema Mitzaris Nafsha. First, the Shema Pivel Shema. Shema his mouth. Shema Mitzaris Nafsha. He watches himself. Mitzaris Nafsha. Shmir Salashan is not just watching one's mouth. It's not just a nice thing. I spoke earlier. I could run a business, and it's all of us. It's all of us. And I was recently. Someone asked me to join them at a meeting, and I saw something interesting. I was like thinking to myself, is this person Aleph, not Aleph, etc. And then you realize, before you even open your mouth, you realize that you don't know the full story. And so many times we see something, and we right away make decisions. What we're saying is, we want to ask Hashem, just see the good in us. And that's really the flip side of it. The reason why Shmir Salashan is so important is because we ask Hashem constantly. We spoke Shabbos. We ask Hashem constantly, only see the good in us. We come with a whole truckload of difficulties, things that we didn't do that were proper. And we say to Hashem, you know what, Hashem, Hashem, give us money. Come to Hashem, right? Big thing is, Hashem, I need a lot of money. What do you mean? We did so many things wrong. Hashem, don't look at the wrong things. So we need to do the same thing. We need to look at people. We have to say people, we only see the good in people. So we go to Hashem, we only see good in people. I know I did bad, but look, I'm only seeing good in people. I don't talk bad about people. Hashem, I need refuah. Hashem, I need Yeshua. I need Nachas. I need Panas. I need Gezun. I need Yeshiva Ateres. I need Nachas. Hashem says, what do you mean? But you got a whole truckload of bad things. Okay, but Hashem, I'm looking at everybody else's good. Looking at everybody else's good. Only see the good in people. There's a Yid, before Moshe Reuben. Someone used to be in our colony, and it's such a great story. I said it a few years ago. There was once a famous homeless person in Brooklyn who an Abbot who wasn't well, and he had difficulties emotionally, and he used to see things. It was very, very sad. He was afraid to shower. He used to wear bags around him. He used to think people are chasing him. It was very terrible. And he was once driving on the street, this Rabbi Reuben, and he sees this guy. The guy's asking for a ride. His family's in the car, and he asks his family if they don't want us in the back, and he wants to give him in. The stench was terrible in the car, and he brought him in, and he drove him to where he needed to go, and he said to his wife, he says, because when I come up to Shemayim after 120, so I'm going to do things that smell. I'm not going to be so tolerable, but I'm going to be able to say, look, I got this guy in my car. I brought the stench. I did it. I did it for your people. I was okay. And that's really what it means when we don't say Lashon Hara, is that people might have a stench. People might have things bad with them, and we get nervous from them. Whether it's our spouse, it's our boss, it's our rabbi, it's our employee. It's anything. It's anything. Anyone surrounding us. I want to say to David, look, I saw the good. And that's the Hashem at tzedakah of Allah Nabay Hashem, you're tzedakah. Allah Nabay Shepana, but only see the good in us. Father, at tzedakah by Yisrael, we know Mezra not Allah Nabay Shepana, we can have some parts of us. Father, the tzedakah, we can wear the God possible by Shepana, we know we should say, Father, we say, we go for them, Christ, and all the Shepana, we have Rally, I'm the so good, sure. Let's talk with the God, and I, but the only is we ask them to incline your ear to me Hashem. There's a beautiful mashal that Rav quotes in a mimer from a Gemara of there was a princess who was traveling once, and she was attacked by these bandits, and and she was screaming out for help. And there was a king passing by from a different country, and he saved her. So afterwards, the king sent a message to the princess, "I want to marry you," and she ignored him. She didn't want to talk to him. Sending messages, she didn't want to respond. So the king said to his people, "Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I need a whole group of you to make believe you're bandits and you're pirates, and you're going to stage an attack on her. And I'm going to be nearby, and she's going to scream out for help. I'll come save her." So Kachabi did that, and she screamed out, and he came and he saved her. He says, now you have to talk to me. He saved you again, you have to talk. So the fun is Mazmi says, that's why we say, the Eibishter is listening. He wants us to talk. And sometimes we don't talk to Hashem. So Hashem says, Nabach, I'm going to have to bring a tzara on this person. I'm going to have to give him a little thing. I'm going to have to bring something to the person. The person will start talking to me. So that's why it says a person should constantly always be preemptive. The person should always preempt, because if you constantly talk to Eibishter, Eibishter says, no problem, you're talking to me. There's no necessity for tzaras. Chaf Aleph is the Kinnus of Asar Harugi Malchus, 10 Harugi Malchus. Very important Kinnus. We know we say it also on Yom Kippur, Asar Harugi Malchus. The Gemara here in Brachos, Naf Samach Aleph on the base, discusses, and it says, Tanra Bonon, the story of Pamachas Gaza or Malchus or Shoshliaski Yisor B'Torah. It was on time Exer Lakai Yisor Shanap Oisik B'Torah, Bob Pappas Ben Yehuda, Umotza the Rabbi Akiva Shahi Makal Kelis Barabim. So Pappas Ben Yehuda came and he found that Rabbi Akiva was gathering groups Barabim, and he was teaching Torah. What is it with Rabbi Akiva? Atim Yisrael now Malchus. He said to him, "Are you not afraid of the kingdom? You're afraid that they're going to kill you?" So he said to him, he says, "I'll give you a mashal to Ma'adav." There was a fox that was going on the edge of the river, and he sees the fish running to and fro, and he says to the fish, "What are you running about?" He says, "We're afraid of the nets that they spread out, that they're going to come catch us, that the fishermen are going to catch us." So the fox says, "Oh, great idea, come live with me. And live with me. Fish come out when he's just scared of the nets. Come live with me, live in my hut." So the fish said to him, on you they say that you're you're the one that they say that you're the smart of the chayas. He says, Tipashata. He says, saying in the place where we're supposed to live, we can't live, we're afraid to be killed. Makom is saying on the dry land where we're going to die. A few days later, Rabbi Akiva was caught and he was put into prison. A little while later, Papas ben Yehuda was caught and he was put into prison. And Papas came and he says, Oi, the Papas should fast. He says, Shachar Rabbi Akiva, that you were toughest on Divrei Torah. Oi, the Papas that I was put into prison for nothing. Rabbi Akiva's Mesiras Nefesh was he understood that the Makom Fi is saying you have to be Mesiras Nefesh, even now a place of livelihood. And it's tough because in every generation, we are so rugi machos, but in every generation, Rabbi Waxman, I love the story. Rabbi Waxman once spoke at a big Kinnus, as the people were there. And he speaks at the Kinnus and he says, Rabbi Isai, I just want you to know that Rabbanim and the Gedolim said that the Holocaust is coming up. There's a new Holocaust coming up. It's going to be way worse than the Holocaust that was 1939. He pauses for a moment. He says, but this Holocaust is the Holocaust of the Neshama. He says, proof? He said, everybody just breathed a sigh of relief. Everybody's like, oh, it's only the Neshama. He says, that's the proof. Which means that today's Mesiras Nefesh is a different Mesiras Nefesh. My father's points out, always spoke it out. Today's Mesiras Nefesh is right here. It's in the Neshama. Today's Mesiras Nefesh is right here. Today's Mesiras Nefesh is right here. It's right here. It's right in front of us. It's in our pocket. It's right here. Today's Mesiras Nefesh is all over where we walk. Today's Mesiras Nefesh for all of us and for everybody listening and watching and all over the world. Today's Mesiras Nefesh is us. We're our Rabbi Akiva. Every single one of us is Rabbi Akiva. Every single year is Rabbi Akiva. I said this story last year. Please be mindful of me. I love the story. I need to say it again. I wasn't going to say it. And Shimon wants to say the story again. Please be mindful of me. Indulge me one more minute. With the Baal Shem Tov. The story happened with the Baal Shem Tov. And a Yid comes to Baal Shem Tov and he says, Rebbe, I want to see Aliyah Navi. What's that Aliyah Navi? Baal Shem Tov says, no problem. Pack up a whole package for Shabbos. Travel to this small town. This small town you can see Aliyah Navi. Go for Shabbos. Packs up his whole package of food. He says, make food. Chalas. He brings it to the town. And he goes there and he's going to see Aliyah Navi. Comes to shul. Nobody invites him home. It's an Arab town. Everybody leaves shul. They leave him alone. Takes his package. He doesn't have. He has food at least. He has no place to stay. He walks down and he walks down the street and he hears somebody crying. He knocks at the door and he sees there's an almana. There's a lady with a bunch of Yisayim. They're crying. They have no food. He says, "Oh, why do you think he has food?" He gives him most of the food. He eats a little bit. He goes to sleep in the shul. Doesn't see another. Comes the next week. Comes back to the Rebbe. He says, "Rebbe, didn't see another." He says, "Oh, this week. Pack up again all the food you can see another." Packs up all the food. Comes to shul. Waits in shul. Nobody invites him. He all upset. Walks down the street. He's double upset now. The Rebbe told him to see another. He is crying again. Knocks at the door. There's the almana with the Yisayim, no food. He gives his food. He shares it. Goes back to sleep in the shul. Comes back to the Rebbe. Shabbos is ready 2 weeks. Rebbe says, "Go this week and you see Aliyah Navi." Part of why I love this story is that the person, after the first time came back, the second time came back, he still went back to the Rebbe. He didn't say, the Rebbe doesn't know. The Rebbe, right? Today we asked the Rabbi one thing, he's 3/4 right, he's only a quarter wrong. We're like, forget about the Rabbi, right? Sorry, I shouldn't say it's it's not a tonus, it's never. But I'm saying, I'm giving physics to myself, don't forget. Right? So a person says, the Rabbi, these rabbis don't know that Rabbi. You know what happened? He said, he went back to the Rebbe the third time. And says to the Rebbe, Aliyah Navi. He says, this week you're going to see Aliyah Navi. He's excited. He believes. He packs up more extra food, the chalas. He's going to see Aliyah Navi, goes to the town, and he comes to shul. Nobody invites him. He's looking around shul. Maybe he missed the old man in the corner. Maybe the homeless guy is Aliyah Navi. He's looking around in shul. He's looking at Aliyah Navi. Aliyah Navi's not there. Nobody invites him. He takes his food. He walks out. He knows where he's going. He knows where he's going this time. He's going to drop off his food, but so he feels bad. He wasn't safe. He doesn't think it's Rabbi's fault. He wasn't safe. He's about to knock on the door, and he hears the children crying, Mama, we're so hungry. We're starving. She says, Kinderloch, don't worry about it. Aliyah Navi came last week. Aliyah Navi came 2 weeks ago. Aliyah Navi's going to come again. The person, the Rebbe is telling me, I'm Aliyah Navi. Every Yid has potential to be Aliyah Navi. That's what we're saying here. We're saying here in today's Kinnus, we're saying that in the Ma'aser Rabbi Akiva, the Mesiras Nefesh, every Yid is Rabbi Akiva. Every person has the power within them. Yeah, you fell down. Yeah, you weren't been assigned, and you fell, and you didn't do what you're supposed to do. You weren't nice, and all that voidness and nisyonis. I looked at what I was supposed to. I heard what I wasn't supposed to. I spoke what I was. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, we're fighting the fishermen's net. We're fighting. It doesn't make a difference. Let's read together this Kinnus of Asar Ruge Malchus Chafal. Az Elavon Adir Chayro, Shis Mishnah Begemoro. Gemara Kamal Levedara, Dom of Nishbach, Nishas Gemara, Nabudaja Ruge Malchus Asaro. Allah Ni Bebe Nigras Ois Bisroch Ezek Gemara, Femtas Yisroch Yakoidish Nesavatara. I don't live with Ocean Mason Mr. Boro, the Guy Mission of Hamburg, and Fogger Robin Chimukaz, I my dog, you never shoot the Sudo, Miss Aaron Shop, I shall talk about some night, I shall make all I know, Bima, one of our families come a bit tired, but some niggas all of me, some After the social besides can give my own after skipping out by a shop by station. It's the floor and talk. Mr. Zell, I love it. It's going to be Akiva. You got the so as Robert Sasha was a tablet to this was where the basket on Raj, Shakar Akiva. The double minute, David Jimmy Shambi had a relation with Titus, in August. Never can't help about the CEO, Yeshiva the same time when we give up countless amounts of time to sit back and go to the same time to forgive and 70 all leave is every man else. Also, we have some go on my way to go with the long language. Yeah, the basket of Johnny who come Christ for just show rather a good say. Give my life for I'm Sorry, let's mention more about Friday night. Come out here, guy, man. Shop and say it's man. Keep this week. Show for love, like the over time. We don't get to the spot. We were the guy to the again. And I know you see what the album is. Go the skill of 7 kind of be on the shower and instead of many of you are yours. 7. As I have to know, I'm going to skip Chaf Beis, go to Chaf Gimel. Here's the story of Ben Abbas Rabbi Shmuel. To speak out the story that the Kinnus discusses. Ben Abbas Rabbi Shmuel, very beautiful two children. It seems like they were adults, and they were captured by Goyish kings. And they were each Goyish king. When they met each other, these Goyish kings, they said, "I am captive this most beautiful woman." He said, "I'm a captive, most beautiful man." They said, "Okay, let's marry them together. We'll have the most beautiful servants and slaves." And they put them in prison together in the dark at night. And they said, okay, they'll marry each other and they'll have children. And each one stood in their corner. Ben Abbas Rabbi Shmuel stood in their corner, not knowing that it was their brother and sister. And they said a person who comes from the Kohen with such yichus, such beauty and carries Hashem's name, doing Avera, and they each cried in their corner. When the sunlight came, they realized they were brother and sister. They hugged each other and they cried until Yassin Nishmasik, until they died. That's what this Kinnus discusses. It's a deep message. It's a deep message. It's a message of Aleph-Bet, we spoke earlier of Emes, and it's a message of recognizing that we're carrying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name with us. Sometimes when the Yetzer sneaks in, Yetzer tries to make you think you're such a shvach person anyway. You didn't have very few times. You're not such a great person, or you sinned already, or you weren't so nice, or you weren't so good, you weren't shomer your nine, you weren't so nice to your spouse, you didn't speak so nice, you weren't so nice to your children, you weren't so nice to your parents, you weren't so nice to your friends, you weren't so good, your avoid of Titus wasn't so good. And the Torah sticks in and tells you that it's bad. And really a person has to recognize that inside inside, deep inside. They're Ben and Bas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're son and the daughter of the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're carrying a beautiful crown. We're carrying that beautiful crown. And it's small steps. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the small steps. It's really the small steps that count. Because then the Yetzer Hara kicks in and says, you're going to become good, you're not so good. Do a big thing, you make a big change in life, you're not going to make such a big change. And it's really the hear-her tshuva, the small thought of tshuva. A person has 1 second of tshuva. That means greatness. Chaf Gimel. Es nave chata shemim od masel nachir zim b'yam zanim. Yom yom eva lev Tinev the Badak, came in the massive smoke and on the zombie, give them up in Simavin. Hey, Nishmu, and all the Shna, Doide, Mishkin was a long Sabbath is at Yonah. Visit, she was a son, passed upon him, saying, as if all I be climate and the Israel life, visit, ever, you think, I am a shemesh of it. Sabe the half of an eye, say, what this coming to Shimon with his Shamazes. I was a the mother, give us a Shnaim Yachad, and look at the Father with the Pots. Iba with Ethel, and so it's coming here in Shimon, saying, oh, there's Tony with you. We'll be a candy card for you. When a boss misspent, or Haftalah. Achord Beis Hamikdash Kinnus Uchihudash. It says in the second line that it says over there, Esprit Choshana Mispeit Chodesh. I will, every year I have a new mispeit, a new hesped. Every single year is a new hesped. Looking through my notes from the previous years, there was a certain tzaddik that every year he used to put his Kinnus in Shemus. To have that type of emunah. So I was looking through my notes from the previous years, and from I had Tes, Samach Beis, and I had Ches, and this Kinnus was wrote to back past his tzaras. I thought just write the tzaras that happen in the year. It's Shemishma, Shemirachim. People that help with these tzaras, and it's over and over and over. You see, just and recently, like a week or two ago, there was one Sunday there was a child who was nifter, and talk, and I saw it on someone's status, and it was a news status, a Jewish news status, and then a few minutes later, it was as if it was like 10 more statuses. Not about the news status. I'm just saying that the way the world moves, right? There's a tzara, and then boom, and then there's something else, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and especially when time is moving so fast, it's hard for us to absorb. It's hard for us to absorb, and it's really when today's the time we're sitting here, and we're just absorbing the message. The message that we're absorbing is. Think for a second. Every year there's new tzaras. Like Rabbi Erlansky, Speaker Bench said a beautiful message last night. That every tzara that happens through the years is all Chol Beis Hamikdash. It all comes from Chol Beis Hamikdash. We're yearning and we're hoping and we're pulling and we're looking for the tzapiyah, for the Yeshua. But every tzara that happens in the world is all from today. It's all from Chol Beis Hamikdash. And that's what the skin is saying. Achum Beis Hamikdash Kinnus Uchihudash Esprit Kol Shana V'Shana Mispeit Chodesh. Kedra Hamikdash Tzad Lidam Tashisham. Zoom ben abreis. Aber kommt mit Malachas aber Israel da da. Das mit Kodesh. Nam da to ka pa ka sha gidon. Swiss mit da ko. Okla kapnivo besa to ka duro no monster. Der giz yo so flo shamayim mit Stabek na vasa shukhanes kol shulun no gaim no Eloite shulun gidai shukhala shavun no ma Nas bukhoino is mit der Mahmoud Zaid Bukhari me ashma no faishes yom asrnas Kim so mavina shvaz shnei moilo is musudes Nas fana sheb me kovo v'adat zerki kovo Other than the group, otherwise, where they should do. Follow the rock there, don't know. Should know, I won't say all that. You probably can say, we are so good to see us with life. Say, don't praise it out. Yama should make a moment of God, I got nothing to turn the God, you said, that's all my name. Zamayne, to the group, Dutch Novi, Bagahena, and Malakufon. So, Gavdan, Gavoit, Imam Noida, some after space enough. We're going to skip Chav Hey. We're going to go to Chav Vav. Oswald left Yirmiyahu Kivrei Avos. And Yirmiyahu went to Kivrei Avos. So it says Hashem cried to Yirmiyahu. Hashem cried to Yirmiyahu. He says, I feel like a father whose only son died on his wedding day. So the Lashon of the Medrash. They said, I feel like a father's only son died on his wedding day. So he said to Yirmiyahu, go cry. He says, go cry to the Avos. Go cry to the Avos. Ask Rachmanis. Rabban Shem is telling Yirmiyahu how to create Rachmanis. He says, go cry to them. And you bring Rachmanis. So he says, he went to the Avos, Tamar's Machpelah, and he cried, and it wasn't Pile. It wasn't Irish Yeshuas. So he went to Rachel. He went to Rachel Imenu. And only after Rachel Imenu was called, Baram and Ishman, even Chassam, Rachel Mavaka Banea, and Rachel Imenu went and cried for the children, so the Eibush relented and the Eibush listened. I'm going to use this opportunity to speak to the men, of course, also to speak to the women that are listening and watching, that the power of a mother's tefillas. Powers of a mother's tefillas. A woman's tefillas are very, very, very strong. When we say mothers, we mean wives, we mean mothers, grandmothers. The power to evoke Rachmim and Shemayim. The power to evoke Rachmim and Shemayim comes from a mother. We said of the story a number of times. I don't know if we said it last year, we said a few years ago, a couple of years ago, that Matthew Solomon, always, when he was Mashkiach in Gateshead, he always wondered why a certain Bachar, who wasn't the best Bachar in Yeshiva, got the best Chavrusa. He always got the best Chavrusa. He always wondered. He was a decent Bachar, but he always got the best Bachar to learn with him. And one time, it was the first day of this month, he was walking. Those days they had public phones. For those who don't know, that was a phone hanging on the wall with a wire to put a coin in to make a phone call. And he passes by the public phone and he hears the Bachar talking to his mother. He says, "Ma, you could stop saying to him, you could stop davening. I got my chavrusa." He says, "Oh, now I understand. The mom is tefillas. The mom is tefillas. Mother's tefillas and Shemayim is not shy. We have no musag. The epitome of a tefillah is Mamarach. Mamarach. Chaim Shmulevitz went to Cave Rachel, and he said, it says, "Mini koilech mibach," he stopped crying. The pasuk says, "V'nach midimah," hold back your tears. The Navi says to Rachel, hold back your tears, don't cry so much. This is a B'Ichaim Leben noch Lichzog. Vein Mama Rachel Vein. Keep crying. Mothers, keep crying. Don't stop crying for the Yeshua. Every person, every Yid, every mama has to know this is it. The person has to sit down. Every mother should know you want your children to be successful. You want your life to be successful. Down to the Eibush. The Eibush has a special place for Mama Rachel's tefillas, every mother's tefillas. Sing together with me. We're going to sing one time. Oh, B'Rahman Nishma Rachel, Rachel Mivato, Al Bonecho Kol B'Rahman Nishma Rachel, Rachel Mivato, V'Al Bonecho Rachel, Rachel Mivato, Rachel Mivato, Rachel Mivato, V'Al Bonecho Rachel Mivato, Rachel Mivato, Rachel Mivato, V'Al Bonecho. Chafo, Osma, Lachim Yom Kippur Bois, Amatis Chavis, Matis Bois, Nehol Bnei Bois, Ayis, Kosavet Bertz Bois, No Kolam Begin all this the whole world of the name is in one of the places of the mystery. Every way, the soul is out of the door, and we never lay short. The light of is from the so I got a boy, you will be the Neuron Kino, this is also, Jeremiah from the Lord, I saw the service of so every does us the boys. Some of his cognition and some of the song he told this one. Thomas is using optimism. Mark you go to Maria, using the show, you got the show. Come on, let's find you. So I should make you more than those of this money of the We're going to skip Tav Zayin, we're going to go to Tav Ches. Eitinach Muni Hevel Kanari. How can I be consoled? Reconnecting. How can I be consoled? This Kinnus ends off. It goes till the end of the Kinnus. The promises that Mitzvah Hashem, he can chase away chase away all the pains and everything. Yashkaf Mimal Marit Shal Vayal. He lowers his enemies to the grave. He raises us out of then I'll have Nechama. People that went through tsaras in life, people that have suffered losses. So you revisit the loss. You revisit the loss. It's painful. The person revisits the loss, but at the same time, you have to have the sapir, the hope. I'm hoping. There's a sapir that it's going to end. It's going to end. The geula is going to come. I remember my mother, Shalom, at the moment that my father was nifter, married for 46 years, the moment she was there, the first thing out of her mouth, it was the first thing. She said, I've davened for Tchias HaMesim to see my father. Now I have another thing to daven for Tchias HaMesim for, to see my husband. People, great people. So great people understand that even though Eicha nothing, still Oza nothing. But just to depict, Chavetz Chaim gives a mashal how you depict the tzapis Yeshua. How do you depict the hope and the salvation for the Yeshua? How do you hope? How do you imagine what it means? And he says a story. He says there was once a childless couple after many years had a son. They named him Yaakov. Tyre Yaakov Atzadik, this kid. You can imagine the bris and the Shalom Zohar and the Pidyon Ben, the lavish event. It was like amazing. The baby, they had a baby after 20 years. This is their child. And he went to the best yeshivas and he was becoming a Talmud Chacham, and then the Russian government accused him of spying. And they sent him off to jail. Imagine the feeling of the parent. Ben Yachid. Imagine what's going on in the parent's mind, the pain. And the mother goes to the officers and she cries and she begs. She says, "My only son," and she proves that he wasn't a spy. And he wasn't. And finally, the officers relent and they say, "Okay, we're going to send him home. We're going to send him home in a week. And he's going to come home in a week on Tuesday on the 12 o'clock train to your town. 12 o'clock train that comes to your town, he'll be on that train." Can you imagine the week? Imagine the week. Imagine what's going on that week. Imagine the hope, the day Tuesday, he couldn't sleep Monday night, and Tuesday, Yanko's coming home, he's coming back, he's coming. It's like you can't even fathom the hope. And the 12 o'clock train pulls in, and it pulls into the station, and Yanko's mother runs onto the train and searches all the cars, and Yanko's not there. Yanko's not there. And she's heartbroken. Where's Yanko? Where's my son? My Ben Yaakov? And she runs to the officer that's in charge of the trains, and she says, "My son was supposed to be." She says, "Oh, we got a message from headquarters. He's going to be on the 6 o'clock train. It's a mistake. He's going to get on to the earlier train. He's going to be on the 6 o'clock train." So peace of Yeshua is the 6 o'clock train. So peace of Yeshua is we're waiting for the 6 o'clock train. Because when the 6 o'clock train comes and Yaakov's on the train, that's the simcha of Mashiach. Kaviyach. That's what it means, Kaviyach. People go through the tsaras. People lost children. People have losses, financial, emotional, difficulties, nisyonis. They're hoping there's something called a personal Mashiach. There's a personal Mashiach. Chazal teach us that there's a concept of a person that has his own geula. Geula klolis and geula pratis. Geula pratis. The tzipiyah, the hope, the yearning for that salvation, for your tzipiyah, that's the 6 o'clock train. That's what we hope for today. Because if we hope for that today, that's what we're zeich to see the Hamas. If you imagine to yourself for a moment that you'll have the salvation, you'll have whatever you need, that's the tzipiyah for Mashiach. We're skipping of Tes Lamed and going to Lamed Aleph. Sfasemes, it's interesting because Sfasemes, in this kina, it goes on the differences between Mitzrayim and Mitzesim Yerushalayim. Leaving Mitzrayim and leaving Yerushalayim. Mitzesim Mitzrayim was the simpler. Imagine yourself the simpler. Simple person leaves Mitzrayim. Wow. Got out. We were slaves. Right? Imagine to yourself, it's just Mitzrayim. Right? Imagine to yourself also Bini Beis HaMikdash. I was thinking to myself, right? I was thinking to myself when I was preparing this, I tried to imagine. I don't know if I was able to. Imagine the first day the Beis HaMikdash was built. First Beis HaMikdash, second Beis HaMikdash. It's like Lo Yu'uman. You can't even imagine the simcha. Imagine the biggest simcha of a new Makam Kedusha. Hashoras Hashkin, Hashem was there. That you just would try and great simcha. Bini Beis HaMikdash. And then, and let's go modern day. Let's come today. Let's go to the liberation of the camps after the concentration camps. It was churban. It was horrors. It was terrible, right? And that's all b'tzeisim in Mitzrayim. And then Chas V'Shalom, the opposite. The opposite is b'tzeisim Yerushalayim. All the sorrows that we go through, like we just spoke a minute ago, the last kina, that's all b'tzeisim Yerushalayim. And that's today. All this, every nisayon you have is b'tzeisim Yerushalayim. But the rebuilding Beis HaMikdash, that's b'shuvi the Yerushalayim. Rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash by shlishi. Imagine for a moment to yourself. When you read this kina, let's do a little bit homework. When you read this kina, imagine for a moment to yourself, b'shuvi the Yerushalayim. Imagine for 1 second going back to Yerushalayim. Going back, Bini Beis HaMikdash Mashiach. Amazing. Right? To the Yerushalayim miracle. Rachman Tasha. Right? Your heart just wants to sing it. You want to sing, Yerushalayim. You want to just dance. You want it every year. It touches every year in the depths. And that's the kina, B'tzeisim Mitzrayim, B'tzeisim Yerushalayim. But you know what? If you look all the way at the end, the sign is going to end. Because there's going to be a B'shuvi Yerushalayim. The Nisayon is going to end. It's going to come to an end. And there's be B'shuvi Yerushalayim. Lamed Aleph. Eish tukar b'kibir aloysian levi b'teiz Mitzrayim. Levi l'man askip b'teiz Mitzrayim. Asher shmoish shilei nosh b'teiz Mitzrayim v'kanim yo v'nif yo. Beis yizkoin Yerushalayim v'nano b'teiz Mitzrayim. V'zor shofim v'kanon b'teiz Yerushalayim. Aliyam Ramo, find me commentators in Israel. No issue of Israel. So we said good time, Lana Brode, my mom said Israel, Mashke, Merev, Ziba Sam, Israel. Level on it, all Lars Bobel. Say, see, Mitzrayim. Marvai, the dedication, position to the Jewish Muslims, the Member of the Muslims. Because of the I wish I was this much like so is this time. I is able to have this life. So the number of this time. Lishman Mamas of this life of all your girls, be virtually. A person always got this time on the color and the other. Action mind of a time in this case, this is line come on the mission. Recommend opinion and this line, it's a purpose. What is the time? Emo, it has as well. We should put it. Never come with any competition because every time. So you guys are always opposed to this mission, right? So I'm showing off this mission the time as long as Dashan of walk right up in the test, right? You got my rubber tomo, this right, you shall really be sure that there's a job, this time, that I was not to know this. I saw an American times in Messiah. All the same, best of my same days, Messiah. Taylor Sudo, the family test with time. So in the symphonous young man of Shuvir Shaloy. Skip Lamed Days, Lamed Gimel, go to Lamed Dalet. Lamadala is the miss of the Novis Chai Ben Yehoyada. Very interesting piece that we saw from Rabbi Victor Miller on the Indian of Tshuva. I'm going to elaborate a drop on that. I hold it's a lifelong message in the Indian of Tshuva. It says here, let me just tell you a little bit the story. The Chai Ben Yehoyada was a Navi, and he came and he prophesied that the Galus is coming. The base mission will be destroyed because of the Ateres. So what they did was that they stoned him in the Beis Hamikdash. It was in Kippur, Shabbos and Kippur, and they stoned him in the Beis Hamikdash because he prophesied that. He was so angry at him for saying it, and they killed him. And his blood was running in the Azara for 150 years. It was there bubbling. It says it was Resech. It was like the anger of Kaviyachal. There was so the Vuzaradim came in. Vuzaradim was a Roman general. He came in and he said, "What's this?" So they tried to tell him blood of Karbonis. They didn't want to tell him what the real story was. Finally, he got out of them and he said, "They said they killed the Navi." He says, "I'm going to take revenge for this Navi. I'm going to quiet down his blood." He killed Canaan. He killed more than 94,000 people. Okay, just help me understand. He killed 94,000 people, young and old. He killed all these people. And these people, it's not, the chet wasn't shy. L'soif, he was in the sky. He had Hirhuri Tshuva, he was in the sky. Whatever that means, he was in the sky, and his Tshuva was in the sky. Rabbi Miller says this. It's amazing. I'm sorry, I heard this. He said that you see the power of Tshuva even to such a degree. So by Menashe as well, but you see the degree of Tshuva to that level. He killed 94,000 people. He killed Canaan, Pirchei Kuna. His Tshuva was accepted. You see the power of Tshuva. We talk about many times the power of Tshuva. The Ramban says, Koch Rabbeinu, he says, there's a Yetzer Hara that comes to you before you do an Avera. He says to you, Avera God to do is not so bad. You could do it. Right after you do that Avera, the Yetzer Hara, that same Yetzer comes back to you and says to you, you did that Avera, you're such a bad person. Such a low life. You did that Avera. Hashem doesn't want to hear from you. Right after, that's what Hashem says. Hashem said, I don't want to hear from you. I want to share with you a tzaddik. The Tzaddik quotes a Yerushalmi. The Tzaddik quotes a Yerushalmi. And the Yerushalmi says as follows, not my words, it's a Yerushalmi. Okay? For those that are listening, those that are watching, Yerushalmi is a Gemara. There's Talmud Bavli and there's Talmud Yerushalmi. This Talmud's Gemara is written in Eretz Yisrael, called Talmud Yerushalmi. And it's quoted as follows. It says, don't let this pasuk leave your mouth. The Tzaddik starts off and he says as follows. A person cannot stay on the same level. This whole thing, it goes up and down. Your heart goes up and down. You will watch a machine. The line is flat, no good. The person's not aligned, up and down. In levels of Yiddishkeit, a person goes up and down. And the Yerushalmi says, don't let this pasuk leave your mouth. I'm sorry. Hashem tzvokos simanim skavlanu lekei aketzav. Hashem tzvokos asher adam teachbo. Which means, Hashem is our strength. Hashem is our power. We have the belief in Hashem. Which means, explanation of the Yerushalmi is that Hashem is there for our nefilas. Hashem is there for our nefilas. When we say in Shemon Esrei, Hashem is Seimich Noifim, He lifts us up. It's not a request. It is 12, 13 brachas in the middle of Shemon Esrei that are requests. The brachas at the beginning, at the end are not requests. The Shvach, the Hiddah. We're saying Hashem is a Seimich Noifim. Hashem lifts us up. It's the reality of life that we fall. And the reality of life is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is there to pick us up. You have to be very careful with this word. You have to be very careful because a person could think to himself, so let me sin, Hashem will pick me up. No. If a person sins, Hashem picks him up. The avodah is that a person has to recognize Hashem is there to be a soymech noifim. Hashem lifts us up. Sheva, Yipol, Tzadik, Become. It's a mantra. In this room, in this yeshiva, in this base medrash, in this world of ours, it's a mantra. Sheva, Yipol, Tzadik, Become. He's a Tzadik when he recognizes he needs to pick himself up. When a person falls, the word Tzadik, like Rav Dan Segal says, is placed after you fall. Yipol, Sheva, Yipol, Tzadik. I want to get up. I'm a Yipol. I'm a Tzaddik. The Sheva Yipol, right? Everybody knows the Rebbe made a beautiful niggin. It's never too late to correct your mistakes. What's the pshat? The pshat is that's what's happening here. This is a message. What's in the middle of of course, it's in Kinnus because it's telling us he killed 94,000 people. Terrible tzara. But it's telling you have to find the faith and the hope, the positive within it. You have to find the koach hatshuva. The power of tshuva is that it's never too late. A yid is always chayzer b'tshuva. The Rebbe always wants us back. And that's what we're saying we need to think about during this Kinnus Lamadal. We're going to skip Lamed Hey. We're going to go to Lamed Vav. Now, Lamed Vav, Lamed Zayin, Lamed Tes, and Mem are all start with the word Sion. All four of them start with the word Sion. We're going to say Lamed Vav and Mem. We're going to skip Lamed Zayin, Lamed Tes, so which means I'm going to speak now. And then we're just going to say Lamed Vav and Mem. Of course, those who like to say more can say as much as they want. It's encouraged to say as much Kinnus as you want. So we don't say them all is because we don't have enough time. Sion is Yerushalayim. Sion means Yerushalayim. The yearning for Yerushalayim, the emunah, the belief that we can come to Yerushalayim with the hope. It's really a hoping. It's an emunah. My nephew, Shimon Azriel, he was nifty. Before he was nifty, he was a young child. He was 19 years old. And special neshama, young, very special neshama. He was sick, very sick. And the last time he went into the hospital and he was conscious, so he said to the doctor, "You think you're alive because you're healthy, and I'm about to die because I'm not healthy." And he said 3 times over, he says, "You just know, Chaim B'Rtzoina. Chaim, life is B'Ratzon Hashem." Those were kamat, if I'm not mistaken, the last words that he said in his life is that Chaim B'Rtzoina. He said it 3 times. Chaim is with the Ratzon of Hashem. Raising Mesiras Nefesh, amazing Mesiras Nefesh. That my sisters carried on his legacy in that avoid of carrying the torch of Mesiras Nefesh, and here the Churban, we relive that. I have a new understanding that I heard this year of those words of Chaim B'Rtzoina. Someone mentioned Rabban Kalina, the one of the first Stolen Rebbe's, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the first. He says the words say Ki Rega Ba'apoy Chaim B'Rtzoina. Rega means a moment, second, Ba'apoy, his anger, Chaim B'Rtzoina. Chaim with his life. Again, let me just translate the words. Okay, so we should understand. Ki Rega, a second, Ba'apoy, his anger, Hashem's anger. Chaim, his life, B'Rtzoina, with the Ratzon of Hashem. How do you put the two together? Rega Ba'apoy Chaim B'Rtzoina. So he says, because a tragedy takes a second. In 1 minute, a person at the wrong intersection at the wrong time, boom, right? I've been wondering, Chofetz Chaim says many times, has said that technology, of course, came out, technology is always a muscle to us to help you understand Kedusha. And I was wondering, it's like, my life was way better before I saw all those accents when this car gets hit and it turns over 3 times. And it's kosher news and Jewish. It's a 30-second clip, and it shows you in the ambulance. And why does the angel want us to see from all the world? I need to see what's going on in Venezuela, and Brazil, and Poland. I need to see. What do I need to see the accent in China? What do I need to see it for? What's the message to me? Where do I come in to see that? And the answer is, I believe, is that the angel wanted to show you, had that car been 3 seconds early from the intersection, nothing would happen. In that second, it's all hashgacha pratis. Everything that happens, rega ba'apoy. Rabban Kalina says it's Chaim B'Rtzoina. It teaches you Chaim B'Rtzoina. The 1 second of wrath from Hashem teaches you that every other second you're living is Chaim B'Rtzoina. That Hashem is making sure that you're at the right place at the right time, not at the wrong place at the wrong time. Every second. We said this over many times. Ramesha finds it in his psak. I think it's Ramesha. This is not a psak, but I think Ramesha says it, but again, lowering a flame on Yontif. And he talks about the scientific way that the gas goes into the flame. And it says it's a new feed. He says it's a new feed every second. It's not that the fire is there. There's a new feed of gas every second, renewing the fire. Every second there's a new fire. The same thing by Hashem said we should live. Every second Hashem is saying, you live, you live, you live, you live. He's giving you life every second. That means we're not alive now because we were alive a second ago. We're Chaim B'Rtzoina because Hashem says, my Ratzon is for you to live. Beautiful understanding of life. Beautiful understanding. That means when a person has that almost a near miss, and think about it, how many times you had that near miss and Mamish just missed that car by an inch. He just missed me or anything. I just made that deal. I just did. All that is Chaim B'Rtzoina. Everything is Chaim B'Rtzoina. When we yearn for Yerushalayim, what we're yearning is to see it. We're yearning to see. That's what we're sitting here today, to see it. We want Yerushalayim. We're asking for the base of English. We want it open. Chaim B'Rtzoina, we should see it. Let's say Lamed Vav, and then we're going to say Mem. Miyom Mizrach Mitzvah B'Sayim Shem Rachel K'Darasi B'Havah Shomas Yesik Tikva B'Sayim Divka Yisana B'Sayim Nisane Yisafam Shivas B'Sayim Kanita B'Shay Lamed Vav Emo Machnaim Chonigit Shoma Shkina Lo B'Yotzim Zom Yitzhar B'Shemesh V'Kodesh Hovim V'Rayim So we're going to speak now by Mem Aleph. This is the Surface HaTalmud. I'm going to speak one more time. After this one, I'm going to speak one more time by the special for Korban Europe, special Kinnus that we have. Korban Europe does have the article on page 382. And then we're going to just recap at the end. So basically, now and then one more time at Korban Europe, and then recap at the end. In Mem Aleph, it discusses the Surface HaTalmud that happened in the year 1242. So very dark times for the Yidden, and it just depicts a little bit what happened in those times. And really, it's interesting. From my notes, we're talking about the same Indian for the past 10, 15 years of really, we could be positive about the changes that we can make. I want to try to take home that message that we really could be positive about the changes we can make, that every person could build his brick. Discuss the Geula Klaus, the Geula Pratis. A big chelik of the Geula Pratis is that you could be part of the Geula Klaus. You're rebuilding the brick. You're doing it is going to rebuild that. The Shem Shmuel writes as follows. The Shem Techoyz in the little blend. He says, "Kol Yontif yesh hashpam and hashamayim." He writes that every Yontif has a hashpam. It's like a force from Shemayim that comes down, and it makes a rosha. That hashpam makes a rosha, makes an imprint. But tsaras don't make an imprint. What that means is that hashpoyos of kedusha make an imprint for the future, but tsaras don't make an imprint. And every kedusha, we have to make ourselves a vessel, a keli, to be makabel and hashpoyos, to prepare a funnel, and all those things that we do. These are things that we create. That means that if we recognize on Tisha B'Av, it's an amazing thought. This is the reframe. We recognize on Tisha B'Av that we could change this tzara, or we could pull the positive out of it and change for the good. That means that we made a positive change in Tisha B'Av. We made the tzara that doesn't leave a roshin into kedusha that makes a roshin. We could create the Tisha B'Av Tashnayin Test made a roshin in the world, not just of bad things. Made a roshin of the good that we can take from it, the tshuva, the positivity, the no lashon hara, the saying good about people, the one step in the positive direction. All those things can make an imprint the roshin for good. Shalas Shrufu Beish Shlema Vilayeh, Chamisavim Shchaim Chatzaz Vilayeh, Shem Avar Tzakoi, Vatmavim, Shem Vimalemakit Vilayeh. Hopefully, Mindoying Abkav Mojem, Yisuf Aleim Alecho, Shalom Tenoi, Shalachot Aleim Dami Yiti, Biden Lights, Sangin Sanam Lois Yane, Yiksha. This is a regular Egenet, the Suno, Beishaikla, the Avasa, Beish, Basuna, Kuzam, Adonadino, the Shekler, Shake, Ukne, Verachaloi, Siperlai. Deja Revgama, the Spy, Panael, Hashmo, the Mishpate, Waiting to listen to us, Aish, Buki Mukainashi, Shisham, Subalabare, Savars, Why did you like seeing okay? Look up Harley, must be done as a home like this, nobody does. Simon said, "We pray that we may share." Moshe Melech Hashem Balchon, Mishte Benoim Sofa Sheyigva, Kenan Melayim Tamtzvah, Tzilo V'Shei V'Sat Katalavu, Shalom, Monu Tzachlis, Oyed Moyes Adi, Gnafo Yigya, Shabbat, Shal Yishtar, Adosh, Chedes Ukla, Adosh, Lishi, Chedes Lishi, Mokshanavi, Ahasha Samadese, Loyam Dese, China, Amalta, Save, Age, Dance, and Samo, Nash, Ehel, Figure, After Esu, Shlai, Alter, Paris, Kinidafa, so Vishala, the Irish Kamasta, Vigas, Kaya, Edel, and Sedaf, Suluda, the Avelas, the Sigation, Messilas, give them Midrash, and Seth Marsh, the Moy, Jordan, the Yavlane, Shai, We're going to skip from Embez and on, and we're going to go to page 32, which is the Churban Europe. Churban Europe, this is Rav Varav, if I'm not mistaken, wrote this Kinnus. Shnei Mahabashtam wrote this Kinnus after the Churban Europe. Imagine for a moment in 1943, middle of the heat of the war, people were being killed, and there was still hope. They're saying Animam. They still believed that it's going to be over. Imagine that. Imagine that they didn't give up. They didn't give up. It's unbelievable. They didn't give up. An amazing mice I want to share with them. Some people have heard it already. Some people didn't. It's a story that's Kedai to Chaz over. We had this story recently, a few weeks ago. Tremendous chus of hashkacha pratis. We went with the group to Auschwitz. So we were never there. I think one of the group was there. One or two people were there before. We're never there. And it was a little bit going to Auschwitz. Travel there is it's a small heart. It stirs the heart a little bit, more than a little bit. And you recognize going to a place where the Zaydis and grandparents of many people were tortured and killed. And 6 million people were killed. It's like staggering numbers. How many dairies that is, how many generations. And we went to Auschwitz and it's in Poland, and Auschwitz is the general name of many camps. Auschwitz was the main camp, and then there were sub-camps. So I went to Auschwitz 1, and the Polish people, they museumified it. They really made it look like a museum. They took out the heart from the camp. They beautified it. They made it look menschlich. And it was just, it felt bad. It was one of the people who just actually went on a call just now. He turned to me while we were standing. He says, "I feel bad that I'm not feeling it." And it's what the Polish people wanted to do, is that they took away the feeling from the first camp. They made it trees, and they made the buildings nice, and the museum. And we walked through it, and we went through. But then we went back to our van and went to the second camp called Auschwitz-Birkenau. It's called Auschwitz-Birkenau. And this is where it was an extermination camp. And here they did less to it. They did much less to it. It's a little bit more in its raw form. And you saw the tracks where the trains came in. In this camp alone, over 1 million people were killed, exterminated. Terrible. Terrible. And we all put our phones on airplane mode as we're walking in, and we walked down the track separately. And we said, we try to make up that we're going to do this as by self-suspendedness. Imagine for a moment rolling in on these tracks, and you see it, and you imagine yourself the big opening and the train tracks going in, and some of them are the original tracks. You look down, you see the original tracks, the wood. And we were all walking separately, and you know, each person lost in his own thought, going down walking to concentration camps, blood-soaked grounds, and with ear, and it's coming close to Shkia. And I actually had a service. I told them, I said, I would like to daven mincha at the gas chambers. Say Kaddish at the gas chambers. They said it's still there. There's still ash on the floor. And we're walking, and a group of Yidden are coming towards us. And it was sunny. I couldn't really see him. The Yid comes over and he says, would you like to daven mincha now? We don't have a minyan. I said, you have a group here. Do you mind that we can make a minyan for mincha? So I said, actually, I was never here, but I wanted to daven mincha at the concentration camps. How far is it? He said it's about a 5-minute walk. But he said we have a person who's disabled. And I saw there was a Yid who was blind, who was with them. And he had a small group of 7 people. So he says, why don't we daven mincha on the side right here? And he points to the side. There was a cattle car sitting at the side. Seems that there was a cattle car on the side of the tracks, off to the right. Before we had gone into Auschwitz, I had asked Ayam to carry the Talis film with him. Go into the concentration camps carrying the Talis film. And I said to the person leading that group, I'd never seen them before, and I said to him, I said, do you mind? I want to speak for 2-3 minutes in front of this cattle car, all holding our Talis film. And I said, I have a message for Hitler. I have a message for Hitler, Yimach. You thought you were going to wipe us out. You thought you were going to take us away. We're standing with our Talis and Tefillin. We came in here, Talis and Tefillin, to send a message to all the Goyim of the world. B'chol dor v'dor. Every generation, you try to give us a service. In every generation, you try to take us down. In every matziv, and the messages to the Yetzer Hara, to the Sitra Acha. They try to pull us away, try to put the Zvulv, and try to rip us away. But we're going to carry the Talis and Tefillin. We're going to carry Shem Hashem. We're going to be with you, Rabban Shalom. And we're standing here, and we're going to daven mincha here. We're holding our Talis and Tefillin. We're going to daven mincha. We're going to show the world that it doesn't matter. Kadosh Baruch Hu matzileni b'yadav. Rabban Shalom is always with us. I spoke for 2.5 minutes. After I finished speaking, the leader of that group said to me, "Can I speak for a moment to your group?" I said, "Yeah, of course, go ahead." I was so bad. No, he gets up and he says, "You see this cattle car right here?" He says, "Look at the side of the cattle car. There's a plaque, and on the plaque, it says it's dedicated Lila Nishmas, someone Hallel Levi." Some people that are watching and listening have heard the story when I spoke earlier a few weeks ago at a different location. It's worth it to hear the story again. This plaque is dedicated to Lila Nishmas Hallel Levi. Hallel Levi had a grandson who lived in Los Angeles, who walked into a store, wants to pay with his credit card. The elderly gentleman behind the counter looks at the card and he says, "Did you have a grandfather that lived in Poland, in Europe?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "What was his name?" He says, "His name was Hallel Levi. I'm actually named after him." He says, "Really?" He says, "But we don't know much about our grandfather." He says, "I'll tell you, I was his friend. I knew him. I was on the car with him. I was on the cattle car with him that took him to Auschwitz-Birkenau." And this person who's speaking to us is a tour guide, happens to be. And he says, "You see the spot you're standing? That's the spot where everyone got off the trains. And Dr. Mengele Yimach Shemai would say, right or left. Right to live, left to die. That's the spot right here. We were standing. We're about to daven mincha, holding our Talis and Tefillin. He says, and this person, elderly gentleman, says to Mr. Levy, he says, "Your grandfather got off the train with all of us. And he came off the train, and then he started running back. And I said to him, 'Don't go back, they're going to kill you.' He says, 'I forgot my Talis and Tefillin. I have to go back on the train.' He runs back onto the cattle car. He grabs his Talis and Tefillin. When he comes off, he was shot and killed for his Talis and Tefillin. At this spot is where they dedicated this cattle car, Lila Nishmas. Ashkoch. Maybe she told us to take in our talis film, give us an idea, so we could daven. One of our entire Yidden put on his talis film to daven at the spot. Our people throughout the world suffered, and Holocaust, and modern day Holocaust, and throughout our lives we suffer. Modern day Rabbi Akiva. The Holocaust today is just as tough. It's a Holocaust of the neshama. The neshama is being schlepped and being pulled and being told, "I'm going to kill you if you do mitzvahs." Trying to push you down, push us down, and faces all over. And here we are, Tisha B'Av. We're about to end Kinnus. We're going to say this Kinnus, and I'm going to speak one more time. Think about those people that went through the Holocaust, and they believed, even though Mashiach is delayed, even though my salvation is pushed off, I still hope, I still yearn, I still know Mashiach is going to come. They sang it. They believed it. They lived it. They lived the Animam. Let's sing it. Let's sing the Animam that they sang when they were on the trains, when they lived the Animam. Here's the final keynote. After we speak, we're going to get up and we're going to say this together. Just recap a little bit about what we spoke. We spoke about the year of strength. We spoke about the Indian of finding the light in the darkness. Singing Chazde Hashem Kilei Samno, understanding it. Life is full of choices. We just spoke about the Indian of choices in life. Choose to speak good and make a person's life. Chas v'shalom, the opposite. The Indian of Tamek Ba'atzmachad Yom Yisrael. Person should not believe in himself until the day of death. Which means even when things seem to be going well, a person should always hold on to those avoidance. Spoke about the Indian of the Zvuv, the fly. The fly is the ultimate distraction to a person from his big thing, from his bigger picture. The difficulty to speak about children and the Sionis and people that were lost throughout the year. Asara Rugi Malchus, very, very important message of today, us being the modern day Rabbi Akiva. I spoke about him, Marasi Allah Shalom, my nephew Allah Shalom, and the small machshavas of tshuva that a person could have. Every small machshava of tshuva, every hearer, every thought, so beautiful. Kol barama nishma racham avaka baneha. He's saying the Kol barama nishma racham avaka baneha. The mama's tefillas. Eichanochem, how could we console v'ozanochem? Tremendous importance of Sheva Yibul Tzadik become not giving up on oneself. The power of tshuva, the power of coming back, even when we think things are not perfect. We want the Eibush to love us unconditionally. That's really what we want. We want unconditional love from the Eibush. Don't look at my truckload of Ateres. Give us unconditional love. That's really what we have to do with our children, to people around us. Unconditional love. Don't focus on what's bad. Focus on the good. Imagine if you practice telling those people that you love them. Your children, how many times a day do we tell our children we love them? Practice it. Children, practice telling it to your parents. Those who don't have parents wish they could say it. Right? Ask a person who doesn't have a parent how much he wishes he could say it to his parent. We want the Shekhinah, we're asking the Shekhinah to come home. Now I remember my mother-in-law, I mentioned this 2 years ago, the year of her Patir, I remember when she was so sick, she couldn't communicate. She was able to shake her head. The pain was enormous. And watching somebody you love in pain was excruciating for those around. And she was very sick. She was left a day later. And there was Pesach time, and we said to her, Ma, do you want to come home? And she kept shaking her head vigorously, I want to go home. And it's Mashal Kaviyach to the Shekhinah. The Mashal Kaviyach to the Shekhinah is the Shekhinah is in Galus. And the Eibishter says every day, I want to come home. Every time, the Gemara says, every time we're in shul, we say, Meini Eish Merabah, Hashem says, I want to come home. The Shekhinah is in pain. It's a Shekhinah B'Galus, it's a Gemara. The Shekhinah is in pain, Kaviyach. Every time we do a good thing, we take the Shekhinah out of Galus, Kaviyach. Imagine we could alleviate the Shekhinah's pain. Imagine we could alleviate the pain of the Shekhinah, Kaviyach. But one good deed, one good word, one hear her tshuva. The request is not to become the Chavetz Chaim overnight, not to become Rebbe Kanievsky overnight. The request is one small thought of tshuva. That alleviates the Shekhinah's pain. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Heilig Yid, when he was being nifted, he had a difficult time talking also. And they said to him, what niggin do you want to sing? And he wanted to sing the niggin of Neshama, the kind of Neshama. Because that's what people want. You have to focus on your tachlis. What the Zvuv, what the Yitzhahar does is he buzzes in your face. And he says, don't focus on what you could do for this world. You can do chesed. You could do good. You can make people happy. You can change the world for the better. When you go to sleep at night, if you were good that day, if you had one good thought, you made the world a better place. One small step, one small tiny thing, you made the world a better place. It's interesting, we weren't certain to end up by the gas chambers. We weren't certain to walk there. when they were closed, and they told us we have to go out. We thought that what an irony it is that they're chasing Jews out of the concentration camps. Like an irony. Polish person is screaming at us, he's going to call the police on us if we stay. Imagine 70 years ago if they would have told them, if you stay here, chasing us out, right? What an irony. And not only that, the opposite is that we wanted to go to the gas chambers. Right? The whole irony of the whole belt is and think about it. If our great-grandparents would have known, someone sent a video today of a 98-year-old Holocaust survivor reading Eicha. He's alive today. He lives in Vienna. He was reading Eicha. And imagine what he feels. What he remembers, what he saw. So we're in the concentration camps of Birkenau, and we wanted to go to the gas chambers to say Kaddish. And my neshama was, you felt it. You saw the barracks. You saw the way they lived like animals. You saw the bunk beds. You saw what a human wouldn't even call a bathroom for an animal. You saw it's just for weeks after that. And I just saw a little bit. I was just there for a few hours, and just the images come to your head over and over again. You see how they treated Yid, and only because they were Yid, only because we're the greatest. Chazal teach us. We know that the Yitzhak comes after it's put down the Medrash, Tzaddik brings it down, put down the Maral, put down many places that the Yitzhak comes at it's Chazal. The greater you are, the greater Yitzhak is, because they come out of the greatest, come after the greatest. The Germans came after us. The Goyim came after us because we're great. We're Ben and Bas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're son and daughter of Hashem. We're wearing the crown. And I'm going through there, and I was yearning to say Kaddish by the gas chambers. And they used to us Muslim that we shouldn't say it. They chase us out, and we're standing in front. We're standing in a circle, and we're singing. And then I walk over to the gate, and I'm looking down the path. It's empty. There's nobody there. And I'm imagining to myself, thinking to myself, 1 million plus people were killed. That means millions came through these gates. Millions of people came through these gates with the fear, the terror of what's going to be in a minute. The concern of my family. I love my kids. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have done more in my lifetime. The tachlis, there's no more zvuv anymore. It's just straight tachlis. What's my life about? And I'm thinking all those people that survived, and they rebuilt. These people came out and they rebuilt their lives. The people that survived came out and they didn't say, oh, I was sorry. They rebuilt their lives. They made families. Everybody saw that picture of that great-grandmother, 104 years old, last week at the Kaiser, with all her great-great-great-grandchildren. We won. They rebuilt. From one person, hundreds of grandchildren. Every day, the Eternal comes to us and says, you're not going to do it. I'm taking the neshama to the gas chambers. I'm going to put it away. I'm going to make you neshama. I'm going to take it away. I'm going to make you do it. I'm going to get you angry. I'm going to get you upset. Make you say Lashon Hara. I'm going to make you look at me. I'm going to make you. I'm going to say, no. We're going to survive. We're walking out. We're walking out of those gates. We're going to be chased out of those gates. Ani mam and b'emunah shleimus through all our tzaras. Every time we have a tzara, every time you have financial tzara, an emotional tzara, a physical tzara, a ruchnistic tzara. Ani mam and b'emunah shleimus. He calls that chachlei koyim sheyah. The Kaddish. I want to say Kaddish from the Ilah. Skade, it'll be a Skade, standing by the Ilah. Shmei Rabo. Imagine what every second was the Ilah. That's what we want to take away from this Tishbov. Rebuilding. This Tishbov, we're all rebuilding. We're rebuilding from every Nisayim, from every level. And we're going to do it with fire. That's the Hashem should do Siyat Tishmaya. We should be zoicha to dance to Mashiach. We should be zoicha to do Shalayim Ircha Barachim Yitoshav. V'sishke v'soicha kasha debatu v'nei oisa. V'korev v'yameinu binyan olam. We should zoicha to binyan Beis HaMikdash. Litzioi biyore, v'yisho b'tzileho, v'chifzu lo chakuras sa, v'avlereho. Litzioi biyore, v'yisho b'tzileho, v'chifzu lo chakuras sa.
Masoi Nadareho, Bial Bias Mechorfeye, Dash Nadareho, Golos Bishar Sayeh, Anime Shir Zimoreho, Viadamo Masher Shupach, Timoy Meme Yereho, Golos Bishar Sayeh, Anime Shir Zimoreho, Viadamo Masher Shupach. Goin mefaleho, asher dama mebeoreho, valvad asher shomei, tol sanedreho. Asher dama valvad asher shomei, leizukei simideho. Ufidyoinei bechayreho, v'yalchilul kuleihecho, mizbach kitreho. B'nei David givineho, Bial Yofyom Asher Choshach Beisaro Kesoreho. Beis Kurban Devireho, Bial Loichet Asher Lochat, Sakim Kagureho. Asher Hukon Izireho, Biali Put Alei Selah, Vidaleho Unoreho. Sochaku al shkoneho, v'yali nui b'nei choyrin, diveho tehoyreho. Sochaku al shkoneho, v'yali nui b'nei choyrin, v'efesha sherit so, sludene chashureho, Valtivo is Koleho, Shizufeho, Shifoideho. Aleikoilois before Feho, Beis Rabo, Figoreho. Biarik Shas Migat Feho, B'Seit Mishkan Chatzireho. Alei Shimon Asher Chulav, B'Fikomei Mitzoreho, Bial Tachan Yitzav Kulo, Shoi Bushma Moreho. Shimon quoting maternal. So you know, Kilmad, and you shall just unwrap me in a basic on the wall. The mind calling the command is so is it. The command the night in the cover itself. The also mid body, the man must be out on the neck. So we simply motivate the dog calls him raw. Ashray Yoishray, we say, thankful basis for it. Pagalo, this man, Caribbean Roman. Sadori Salavi Salosh with Kuchabri Hope. Long Kal Pasav, Shosat Pasav Rahmasov. Amirabel Momi Rome. Shlomarab, Chamai Penguin Wakisovi Rome. So Shalom Rema, Yas Shamalay about for Israel in Rome. Now here for Rabbi Luca to speak to us.
So there was this, country in the king and an army, and one of the people from the army, it was discovered that he did like the worst thing you could possibly do. If you're part of a country or an army, the worst thing you could do is give away the secrets of the country. You know? So they found this guy who was really meant to be fighting for the country he was fighting for, and he was part of the army, and then they discovered that he was actually spying for a different army. He was giving away secrets. And that's treason. That's the worst thing in the world. So the king, he was trying to figure out what are we going to do with this guy. So at first, obviously, the advisor said, let's kill him. But the king said, I don't want to kill him. Because if I kill him a week from now, everybody's going to forget the whole story. In the past, he did something wrong, he got killed for it, and that's what it is. The king said, I want everyone to remember this for all of eternity. That the worst thing you could possibly do in my country is to give away my secrets with my army. So instead of killing him, the king went and he set up in the Times Square in the middle of the big city a big pig pen. And he put mud and dirt and garbage. And he had this guy who gave away the secrets of the king. He said, you are now living here for the rest of your life. In the middle of the Times Square, in the middle of the city. You're going to roll around with the pigs and the mud and everything. And everybody's going to pass by and laugh at you and say, you see what happens to a guy who gives away the secrets, who spies for the other side. And this is what happened. And the guy was living there and he was broken and he was torn apart and he was living and eating hay, rolling in the mud with pigs, and people would pass by and look at this guy and say, now look what you have to go through. And the bushes were horrible. He was sitting there embarrassed, rolling around in mud, didn't even know how to live with himself anymore. And he had this one friend that every single day would pass by to check up on him. And every time he would see him, this friend would break him so much that he would start crying. And he would come home and he would tell his wife, I can't believe what my friend has to go through. This is crazy. It's worse than death. If he would have died, it would have been over with. Every single day he has to stand there, people pass by, and he's one of the pigs in the pen. Every day he came home crying. There was one day particularly, what? Closer? One day particularly where this friend passes by, and he breaks down hysterically like he never did before. He always felt for him, and he always cried, but this time he couldn't handle it. And he comes home, and he's crying, and he's broken, and it's like over the top. Hysterical. And his wife looks at him and says, what's different? I don't understand. Every day you always feel bad. Every day you're crying to this guy. Every day someone's bothering you. What's different today that you can't contain yourself? So he said, today there was something very different. You won't believe what I saw. So she said, what'd you see? He said, you won't believe it. I passed by. And every day, I usually pass by and he's sitting there and he's broken and he's depressed and he's embarrassed and everything like that. Today I passed by, and you know what I saw? He was having a good time with the pig. He was rolling around in the mud. He was enjoying himself. He didn't even realize what it was anymore. That's the worst. That's the worst. He was macabre that this is what he is now. So he started rolling around and enjoying rolling in the mud, and he started enjoying the taste of hay. And he was fine living in that condition. This is the worst. This is not the worst. But Nachman writes in Tinyan Zion that the worst thing that could happen to a Jew, you'd think he would say like he starts off like a Zara, or he's Kaifer Big, or Nachman says the worst thing that can happen to a Jew is they forget who he is. The worst thing out of the entire Torah, whatever you could possibly do, or Nachman writes the worst thing that can happen to a Yid is he forgets who he is, both in Klalistic level as a Yid, and with pride, he forgets who he is. And sitting in another Tisha B'Av on the floor, 2019, maybe, you know. In 2018, I was sitting in the same spot, I think. And everybody was like, yeah, tonight, Mashiach, tonight. Now it's 2019 and we're on the same floor. What's it going to take already? And people are trying, people are working, you know. The people Machal Shabbos. I don't even know. I don't know what it's going to take to fix it. Are we going to be here 2020 on the floor? Like, what's going to happen already? But I guess that the chizuk for me would be is that at least if you don't forget who you are. I mean, when I wrote that song that we put out in the acapella, we were on a boat in off, what do you call it? Coney Island, by the water, by the beach, by the ocean, sitting with a chaver on a boat, enjoying Farbrengen, and it's for 3 weeks. People at a baseball game, screaming, yelling, and it's like, forgot who you are, and people don't even like, you know? People don't even feel like you're so much deeper than that, you're so much better than that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a baseball game, but like, you know, people are having a blast in Gullis. People are rolling with the pigs already. People are rolling in the mud and enjoying themselves and eating hay. And I'm fine with it. You know? Until Nebuch Bauman has to drown in the water, and then it's like somebody wakes up. Until the Belzer kid has to drown. And then maybe I'll start thinking about Mashiach. Mashiach should come, and the next day there's another WhatsApp news and you forgot about it. You forgot, desensitized. What's the deal? It's going to happen. No idea. Honestly, no idea. I mean, I was schmoozing with a couple of chaver around Shabbos table, and we were schmoozing about, like, somebody said, he doesn't put on tefillin every day. You know? So, to me, you know, what am I going to do? I don't live in the generation where I'm going to go and smack the kid and say, how can you not put on tefillin? You're horrible, you're Russian. It's a different dart, you can't do that. People don't hit anymore. In schools, I remember getting hit. I do remember getting hit a couple of times. I remember when the Manal, in one of the schools I was in, it ended up closing down. The Manal walked around every day in the beginning of the year, and he would walk in literally like a piece of metal from a banister and say, this is the shtekin. And he would give it to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, shtekin. It's a different door, you can't deal like that. But what I said, I felt that at least it should still bother you. You know, if somebody's working in Kiru and somebody's working in Chinuch and somebody says, I have a hard time keeping Shabbos, so obviously you're not going to say, Shabbos, like Amram Bloy, he sat in the street and made a Shabbos and blocked the buses from passing by. But Amram Bloy was a tzaddik and was able to do that. It could be that because of him there are no buses in Meir Shabbos, who knows? But he was a real Amstika Kana. He was somebody who was like a tzaddik. Remember, we can't deal like that today. I mean, you can't go to a kid who's not keeping Shabbos and tell them, you know, how bad it is. You have to, obviously, it's a different generation. There's different ways. It's ahava, there's chizuk, you know, but at least inside, let it sting. If somebody tells you, I missed putting on tefillin in my life once in my entire life. I was in the hospital having a surgery on my lung. And the whole day I was out. I missed tefillin. And it stung. I know it's a different nisyonis that people that are missing tefillin every single day, that people that haven't put on tefillin for a month and they're walking around with yarmulke. So obviously you're going to deal with it in a different way. You're going to hug them, you're going to embrace them, you're going to be mechazik how holy tefillin is and how beautiful it is and how you don't want to miss a day as opposed to pulling out the shtekin, but at least inside let it hurt. I heard Rabbi Freifeld in the shmooze on the CDs. And he said that when he was at Woodstock, he didn't go to Woodstock, but his bungalow colony was not far from Woodstock. And he said that there were kufas where he would walk outside his front door and there was like a line of cars packed the street, nobody could move, people were on the hood, people were on the top of the car, people were smoking things, it was a disaster. And he said, I walked outside and he saw from Jews all over the place. He said, I remember the lashon, he said he was so packed he couldn't get a postcard in between two cars. And he said that he would walk outside, and there's something in Judaism called bageling. I don't know if you've ever heard of bageling, but bageling would be if you're in Walmart in Pennsylvania, and somebody passed by and he doesn't have the yarmulke, He walks up to you and says, "Where did you daven mincha?" He wants you to know. He doesn't really care where you daven mincha. He wants you to know that he's also Jewish. You know, if you're in Wisconsin, some random kind of Jewish. So a guy says, a guy will say something like, "I happened to be on a plane. I was on a plane on the way to LA. It was Pesach, and the lady came down with a tray of the water and whatever, and I didn't touch anything because of Pesach. So like, on Pesach, if you're extreme like me, so then even the water is coming. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't touch it. That's because you already opened the bottle. So I'm sitting next to a guy, and nobody could tell that he's a Yid. And the lady said, "Do you want anything?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "It's chametz, right? The water's chametz." So I'm like, "What do you know about this?" He's like, "Kidding me? I grew up in Brooklyn over there. My brother's a rabbi. This is a rabbi." There's an Indian called Begum. When you want somebody else to know that you're a Yid, so you say something. So Shimon said that he was outside in front of his bungalow colony during Woodstock. And he said one guy passed by and screamed out the window, "Baruch Shemai, Amen." Another guy passed by and started singing, people screaming out random things because they saw the rabbi was out there with his bekach and beard. You know, why didn't you know I'm also a Yid? So Shlomo said that on the outside, I was smiling and I was happy and I was answering and I was saying Shalom Aleichem, I hope everything's good. It's on the inside it was Teshuvah. Because of Shlomo, I don't understand the whole sugya of the 60s and hippies and everything like that. But there was something wrong with it. You know, I don't get exactly what it was, but apparently it was shtickle. I deserved it. I mean, what went on 3 days in Woodstock, it was a disaster. I read about it a little bit, but Shlomo said on the outside he was smiling because that door wouldn't be able to handle him coming out and giving a message to us that you shouldn't be here. So he smiled at them. So he acknowledged their Baruch Shemai. So he was Mekarav and Bahava, but he said inside it was killing me. It was Tisha B'Av. So the guy, the worst level of pain, we're not about this, the worst level of pain is when you don't even feel the pain anymore. Somebody's in the hospital and he's so numb already all over his body that you can poke whatever you want into him, he doesn't even feel it. He's so numb, it's the worst pain in the world, and maybe we're getting there. I mean, every single 9 days somebody else drowns. Another year. What am I supposed to do about this? Feel the same pain that I felt the first time I heard it? There was a shooting in El Paso, there's a shooting here, there's a shooting there, there's a shooting there. I heard that in Times Square, there was a certain motorcycle that was backfiring and everybody ran to LA. They thought there was a gun. So how's it supposed to affect me? Okay, here's another story. Somebody else drowned. We're getting to a point where I'm so numb that I can't even feel it anymore. I'll sit in the floor tishba and I'll say the Kinnus. It's the worst pain in the world. And the key is that somehow there's few tzaddikim in the world, and there's few people that don't forget who you are. Don't forget. It's 2019. It's New York. For some people it's good, for some people it's bad. But don't wait for somebody to drown or for somebody to get shot to say that we need Mashiach. Say that you need Mashiach when you get $1 million check in the mail saying you need Mashiach. Something good happened and say you need Mashiach. It has to take that all these things have to get worse and worse and worse. So who knows what it's going to take already. I mean, people are being mechazik. We have Yidden like the Rebbe. We have Yidden like we're much longer. We have Yidden that are being Mekarav Jews and pulling people closer and grabbing the shamas and mechazik tefillin, tzitzis. There's a whole movement, tzitzis, project tzitzis and project this. It's Gavaldi. We have those few tzaddikim, but I think the message of what they're trying to do is say, don't forget. I know you haven't put tzitzis in a year and a half, but don't forget, at least don't forget. Let it hurt a little bit that you're not wearing tzitzis. Let it bother you that somebody's not wearing tefillin every day. Let it hurt a little bit. Let it sting. It's a different approach. I heard from Rabbi Aleph-Bet. The hardest thing for me on Teshuvah, harder than fasting and harder than saying Kinnus and harder than pushing myself to feel sorry, hardest thing for me is not to be able to say how why. It's the biggest thing that I do every day. How why. Now suddenly it's awesome. So I passed by and the guy joke. Shalom. It's the hardest thing, but I heard such a deep insight. Rabbi Melech Wiedemann said that he asked Akash, he said, Tisha B'Av is and horrible things. It should be a day that you got to say shalom to somebody. It should be a day that you hug somebody. It should be a day that you walk over to somebody and say, how you doing, how you feeling, how's everything. But suddenly that's also on Tisha B'Av, the day that you should approach somebody else. So if I'm repeating this correctly, but this is how I understood it, so if I'm not repeating it correctly, forgive me, but he said we live in a society where everybody says, hello, how you doing? And it all becomes superficial. Like if Shlomo said, the guy, you called Geico, have a nice day. Is there anything else I can help you with, sir? Thank you, I hope you appreciated my service. She doesn't care if you appreciated the service. She doesn't even care if you had a nice day or you had a lousy day. Have a nice day. How you doing? Yo, bro, what's going on? Even a hug, you understand? A hug, which is a deep thing, became superficial. Oh, what's up, man? What's up? And everybody's hugging everybody. So Ramelech said that on Tisha B'Av, the Torah wants you to think about why you're connected to that person. It wants you to think about how your neshama is connected to that person. Drop the hug and drop the how you doing and drop the hello and drop all that stuff. And then when you pass by that guy, you just can't say hello to him. Think a little about like why it bothers you that you can't say hello. Is it because it's like a thing, or is it because your neshama is so deeply connected to another Jew that I should hug him and I should say hello to him, but make it real. So drop the external part. Drop it. Drop it. Yo, what's up? Drop it. And think deeply. I'm sitting next to this guy on the floor in Tisha B'Av and want to be connected. Because obviously the highest level is to care and to love other Yidden, no matter who they are. And this is a famous story, but I'll say it. There were two Rosh Yeshivas that walked into our Aleph-Bet time. And they asked for our Aleph-Bet, they said there's a certain boy in the yeshiva who we feel that, after going through all this employment, like I'm sure they all go through all this employment, they have to throw him out. Can't be in the yeshiva. But obviously they won't make the move without asking the Aleph-Bet time. So they went to the Rav Aleph-Bet side. And they said, Rebbe, this is our cheshbon, we want to do this, this, and that. And after all going through all the situation, we realized that we have to throw this guy in the yeshiva. What do you say? We won't make the move without you. So Baron Lev said, let me ask you a question. What's his first name? The Rosh Yeshiva's thought, that's an interesting question. What difference does it make what's his first name? Look at the time, his name is Yaakov. And you listen and say, what's his mother's name? Now they're really getting worried. Is this some type of heebie-jeebie thing that he's going to make a decision based off what his parents' name is? They didn't know. So they looked at him and they're like, I don't know his mother's name. How am I supposed to know his mother's name? So I don't know, they looked at him and he said, you don't know his mother's name? So the guy was like, no. That means you never really davened for him. If you don't know his mother's name, that means you never davened properly. He said, Yankov Ben so-and-so. You never davened to him, and you're thrown out. Yeah, crazy. The tzaddik, you saw right through it. The biggest kash in the world. The biggest kash in the world is you never davened, and you throw him out. Wait, do you care about him, or are you just trying to run an institution? Do you care about people, or you just need to make a business? Talmud Torah, Schwartzberg. It's a good institution. We have the biggest level of B'nai Torah in our yeshiva. Do you care about anybody? If you cared about your doctrine, then maybe there would be a different outcome. But this Maisa to me was the deepest Maisa in the world because it's the biggest kasha. If you'd ask me, that'll be the one kasha. Forget about throwing someone out. The guy's about to make a big decision in business. He's going through this and that and this and that and this and that. They decide to have to do this. Did you even daven? Did you even talk to God before the decision? Happens to be the story of our Aaron Lady. Happened to be it was about throwing a kid out. What about business? What about how you're going to interact with your wife, with your kids? This is the decision I have to make because I made this decision. Did you even daven yet? You're making decisions. You're making such points. You didn't even do the basics. It's the highest level. to think deeply, to think pneumistic. We were like surface level Jews. You know, there are a lot of people that are pneumistic, but there are, you know, a lot of people living in this world that are forgetting about the depth. Yo, what's up, man? What about, like, you know, what does this person mean to you? Well, you know, it's the union of connections, of synesthesia. People are ridiculous. One guy tells me he's anti-Waterbury, another guy tells me he's anti-Yeshiva people, another guy tells me he's anti-this. I'm like, you leave me alone. Everybody's anti-everybody. I honestly, in this business, I'm walking around and I'm playing music for everybody. I'm going to Waterbury and I'm going to the Yeshiva people. Can you imagine Waterbury and the Yeshiva people if I bring them together? We're the highest level. Connecting, being mechazik each other. He'll be mechazik him in that, and he'll be mechazik him in that. Meanwhile, I'm talking to young guys. I give a shir in a camp, and I'm talking to young guys. And one guy tells me the Rebbe got up and he said that the whole thank you Hashem thing is Mishra. And then another guy tells me that his Rebbe said that Top My King is pure. I sang all the lyrics of Top My King to a Rebbe, so I can't find pure. And this guy bashed that, and then one Rebbe, another Yeshiva gets up and smashed Chabad. Is there even a point anymore? Like, what are you wasting your time? You're trying to create an Torah or Balshita? What are you trying to create? And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I don't know if you heard this clip that went around about. It's a little bit funny, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on Tishba, but okay. I say it. There's this little clip that went around of all the stereotypes of what a mullah is. And one guy was like, your wife wears a shaper like that? It's a mullah. Another guy was like, your steak is a melon? It's a mullah. Another guy said, in a modern person, you don't accept us for who we are? That's a mullah. And he went through every single type of person, touching up how the other guy is a mullah. And everybody was laughing at this clip, and I was like, you have how deep this is? Everybody said that the other guy was a mullah. Nobody said that maybe there's a little nakuda in me that's a mullah that I have to fix. He's a mullah. You gotta think a little bit deeper. Here we are as Yidden, we're sitting on the floor again, and we gotta do the Tishba thing, we gotta do the mint again. You gotta get deep. You gotta get deep. You can't forget who you are. You can't roll in the mud. You can't hang out in the society that you live in, partying. And there's a reason why by every wedding they break a glass and they're singing a Mishkach in Shalim. Because you can have the greatest level of sins in the world, but you forgot who you are already. We sing in Mishkach because it's a minute, but like, I'm sure there's few tzaddikim in the world that feel like, you know, okay, there's a wedding, but we don't have Yerushalayim. We don't know what it means. We don't even have that feeling anymore. We forgot what it is. I'm sure there were dairas that were right after Al-Nar's bubble, the actual tzaddikim that were sitting on the shores of Babel. They knew what it was like to be in the pig pen in the middle of the city. They knew what it was like to live in New York and to live in you know, in communities opening up all over the place. What a wonderful thing. That is wonderful, probably because I'll pick up all they have to gather up in sites in Houston and in Phoenix and in Jewish communities all opening up all over the place. It's nice, but on a different level, I mean, it's all going to, you know, hopefully close down. Because everybody's going to open up shop in the Holy Land. You know? But obviously now with Tikkunim, you have to go out and be Makar Jews and do whatever you need to do. So for me on Tisha B'Av, I don't know if this is my chizuk. I'm just trying to remember, like, who I really am. I'm supposed to be bringing a carbon. To me, a carbon is a fairy tale. You know? To me, Nebuchadnezzar is a name in a story that I heard when I was in school. Nebuchadnezzar. But Hitler's a little bit more real. Hitler talks to me. A little bit. You know, Ahmadinejad rings a bell. It sends a little shiver, maybe. You know? Arabs. Whatever's going to send that little shiver, it's a little bit more real, but it's all one thing. We aren't what we're supposed to be. We aren't even who we are. We might have forgotten who we are. But at least try to relate to that. At least try to get back to that place and realize that Barakaway is nice and all that, but there's no Beis Hamikdash, there's no Karbanos, and there's no Shir from the Levine, and there's no happiness. I mean, people are happy, but like everybody's got sorrows. At least from what I hear, it seems that way. It doesn't matter, doesn't matter, but everybody has their personal situations that they're dealing with. But I haven't yet met somebody who's had it easy. So I guess people just gotta focus and say, get over it. It's nice to be in New York, but get over it. It's not nice to be in New York. It's gotta end. It's gotta end already. Because 2020, you don't want to be here again saying Kinnus. You want to throw the Kinnus out. You want to throw it out. You don't want to say Eich anymore. Whatever it is, Hashem should help that 2020 should be this time for real. The results of Shia came. Everybody says it. Everybody says it tonight when we're in Yerushalayim. Maybe for real this time. Maybe for real. Maybe we'll get there. But the highest, just end up in one line. The highest level of Nechama, the word Nechama. I learned this from a Yid who had a daughter whose name was Nechama, and they had really sorrows with her. She was sick and she was in a hospital. It was a disaster. She almost died a few times in the bed. Not much about that, whatever. It was a horrible situation. But then Baruch Hashem, things were growing. He told me this time on the word Nechama. He said that the word Vayinachem, where do you see the word Nechama in the Torah? Only once. Or a few times. Vayinachem. What's Vayinachem? When God looked at what Vayinachem Hashem al hara, he changed his mind. The word Vayinachem means he changed his mind. He switched the way that he looked at something. The highest level of Nechama is that when you're at the other end, like the Rebbe said, when the guy wrote the book, the best thing is that I got fired. When you're at the other end, you look back and you realize that the sorrow was so perfect for me. It was exactly what I needed. That's an Nechama. Vayinachem, switch my outlook. I regret that I was mad about it because it was so perfect. Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, after Mashiach, you will look back at all the horrible things, you have to say what they are, and say, wow, it's copy perfect. You may not have to celebrate it now, but there'll come a time when you look back and you see how it did for you what it needed to do. That's a Nechama. So I'm sure to have a Nechama in your personal life, and Claudia's taking a Nechama. And maybe for real this time, maybe after Tishbo, we'll continue saying we need Mashiach now, even when somebody doesn't drown, even when somebody doesn't get shot, even when somebody doesn't have a sorrow. We'll still say we need Mashiach. Maybe for real, what about?